Good evening, it's Sunday night, it's just gone 8 o'clock, and it's time for some technical difficulties. Doctor Who. Damn it. With me tonight as well is Chris. Saying hello, Chris.
Hello, Chris.
Thank you very much. And tonight we are going to be doing 2 episodes of Doctor Who, 2 different stories. We're going to be doing Scream of the Shalka, and we're going to be doing The End of the World. So, it's an interesting. It's a shame we've done Rose before, because we could have done Scream of the Shark and then Rose, but it doesn't matter. But what I think is good is the fact that now that we do Scream of the Shalka and then End of the World, we're kind of doing the two Doctor Who's sort of the closest together, really. I'm having technical difficulty now. There we go. There, the lead is falling out of my monitor. There's not a lot that we can say before we get into those episodes, except for this. Check this out. Look what arrived Monday.
Ooh.
Look at that. Isn't that just some gorgeous artwork?
It's lovely.
It is absolutely. Here's the thing, right? The only thing that I'm slightly disappointed in is the fact that as gorgeous as this artwork is, I wish there was a reverse cover where it was just that and the black. Because when it was originally advertised, it was just that font and the black, and it just looked, that was just so nice. But that is beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. No. We're going to get around to doing this at some point. Don't know when, but we are going to be doing it at some point. I'm just going to tell you this right now. I have no idea what's on the special edition Blu-ray compared to this. All I can tell you is it cost twice the amount of money, and I wasn't prepared to pay for it. And I don't know what the difference is. I can only assume that the difference is the box and nothing else. What I will tell you is that this Blu-ray contains 3 discs.
Ooh.
Yes. Now, on the first disc, you get episodes 1 to 6 in black and white. In disc 2, you get it in colour. And the one I really like is disc 3, where not only do you get a lot of special features as well, and the special features are spread out over the 3 discs, but you get disc 3 gives you episodes 1 in live action, 2 in animated, 3 live action, 4, 5, and 6 in animated. Plus, it gives you all the episodes as the telesnap reconstructions. Plus, it gives you all the surviving footage, all the surviving film fragments, all the stock footage that they had. Like this is really comprehensive, and this is there's a production diary of how they made it, how they reconstructed it, how they animated it. As far as I'm aware, there's only 15 people worked animating this. You'd expect there to be a lot more, but there's only 15 people who are working on it. So that's quite incredible, particularly when you see the quality of the animation on this, because it's kind of as good as the Macro Terror is. I think this has stepped it up again.
Blimey.
So I think they've really got a talent for it now, and I can't wait to see what they do next, because this is just, oh my word. And like I said, the cover art looks great. They've captured the essence of Patrick Troughton. Just got it spot on. But a fantastic disc. It arrived Monday, and Monday night it was already in the Blu-ray player. So that's something for future. But I wanted to cover that because it did arrive earlier this week, and we've got Fury from the Deep as well. There's also the trailer of that is also on the disc as well, and that's coming out later this year. But we are doing. First of all, we're doing this one, Scream of the Shalka. And I should say as well, with the faceless ones as well, that also comes with a reverse cover, which has this cover. So you can swap it around and have a match all the rest of the DVDs as well. But tonight we're doing Scream of the Shalka. Now, this comes with quite a comprehensive set of features as well on the back. There we go. Just so you can see. It's only one disc, but it comes with quite a few special features. It's got commentary and things like that. Now, Scream of the Shalka is a bit of a weird one because first of all, it's starring Richard E. Grant. And Richard E. Grant is probably the guy that should have been playing Doctor Who when it came back anyway.
Yes.
He is very much... This guy has played Doctor Who twice, and both times he's never been canon. He did it on this, and he did it in Curse of Fatal Death as well. And he is so fitted the role. I mean, he just does. The thing is, this is a bit of an odd one because we've got an android master. We've got Richard E. Grant playing the Doctor. And the thing is, with Richard E. Grant, he wasn't really exposed to Doctor Who before doing this. So, early on, he's given a kind of a very dry performance. But later on, as we get into more and more episodes, he just relaxes into it and becomes a bit more Richard E. Grant. So it's kind of you start off with a very stilted performance, but then it goes into a bit more flamboyancy, and he starts to be a bit more of himself, and that's what you really want out of a Doctor Who. You want the Doctor to have a bit more of their own personality injected into the character. So there's that. Also, thing to mention here as well with Scream of the Shalka, this was done for the 40th anniversary, and it was done. Believe it or not, this was done by the same people who done Count Duckula and Danger Mouse, Cosgrove Hall. That's who done it, and they did it using Flash animation so that people could watch it online. So it's the animation is not the best because it's Flash animation, right? But it's certainly a stepping stone. I would say if we didn't have this, we wouldn't have the animated reconstruction episodes that we got now.
No,
I would say that this is a big forte into how can we get the missing episodes made, and this was very much, this showed the fans that this was acceptable, and it showed the people making it that this was acceptable, that we would take good Doctor Who no matter how we could get it. And the other thing I would mention about this, what makes this episode of Doctor Who unique, is that this is the first Doctor Who story starring David Tennant. So I won't tell you when he pops up in it, but this is David Tennant's first Doctor Who adventure. So
I didn't know that. So
yeah, I won't have to tell you when he pops up. You'll know it straight away. So, but yeah, this is his first one. So it's a unique episode for that. It's got some interesting character designs, and I think we'll talk about that after that. Especially we will have to talk about his interior of the TARDIS as well. But I think if you're ready to go, I'm ready to go. I've got my toast and I've got my coffee because I'm still hungry.
I've just got my vape. We haven't got to have a shot of whiskey, have we? Every time Richard E. Grant says, "Oh no, that's a completely different film." Don't worry.
Yeah. So I'm getting ready.
Yeah, I'm ready when you are, mate.
And I go 3, 2, 1, play. BBC presents. You got to remember that this was a web series. So they've got John Pertwee-esque titles, clearly. You can tell this was written. Now, this was written by the people who've done Big Finish as well. So there's a lot of Doctor Who fan. It's kind of a Doctor Who fan film.
See, I've always liked this, so I haven't watched it for a while, so we'll see.
Yeah, by Paul Cornell. Now, again, this is broken up into small episodes, so we'd have to. We can talk after each episode. Each episode is about 15 minutes, I think. So yeah, you can see that it hasn't got quite the clean animation lines that than you might expect. I'm going to turn mine volume because I can't hear you.
Rock by day, love by night. Is that the aircraft? No, it's a meteor. Sweet, it's got a ledge just over the ridge. I've got to go see this. Come on.
Even in the animated form, it's got ropey effects.
Look at it. Can you see one of these close up? You see something moving down there? It's just smoke. Oh, I see it too.
You can definitely see this playing the seeds for what we're getting now animated.
Oh, absolutely.
Little guy. It's a hell we keep it terrainy.
Like I said, it's a shame. It's a shame that it's done in Flash because it's very comic book. Very thick black lines. There we go. And there it is. The boom shakalakas. Interesting open because you open with it's a traditional Doctor Who opening. Something happens and then the TARDIS arrives, and that's
how it should be.
Yeah.
Not taking the Fang for a spin around Venus.
Not where we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a look around.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to be here. I won't do it. Whatever it is.
He locked it like a car.
Smell of the air. 2003. But something's odd about it. And where is everybody? Oh, for goodness sake.
Piece of digital tech kept in the cubbyhole.
There you go. On the house. You guys get away from all this.
Alison, don't give away the beer.
Why not? We're never going to get any more. We might as well empty the cellar.
Might just stop.
And you're not paying enough for this, by the way. Nobody else will come in.
It'll stop. It has to.
Everyone can say it's going to stop since it started. Everyone's waiting for it to change, but nobody is doing anything. Everyone's
You can
just
see
sitting
like
there
it's got interesting character designs.
Agree with her. This is all her. I've told her to shut up.
But you can see how quite linear some of the angles are.
Single glass of
It's very stylized, isn't it?
I've had so much about it.
Sorry. Do you do dry or sweet?
And I didn't do sweet.
Miss Cheney?
And again, the reason why you get these strange, weird close-ups, these intense close-ups, is because it's just easier to animate.
Yeah.
Busting town set on Saturday night, I suppose you don't get this.
Imagine if you had to animate a full body standing there talking.
That's why they're both looking at me like that. They're scared of anyone who isn't. Scared somebody might talk.
Do you want to do this, Alison? Do you really?
So, none of you are going to tell me anything. You haven't even thought to charge me for the drink. And there's no pack-up bell on this jukebox. I'd have thought he'd get a look in on smooth classics too.
See, that's interesting. That's drawing suspicion already by he's picking up the tunes of the jukebox.
It's all right. Whatever you are, you'll be good.
Either something very odd is going on down there, or the rats have discovered the delights of the toilet cart.
Building the mystery. And stealing the TARDIS.
Oops.
Yep. So yeah, episode was a bit slower paced going into it. And again, Richard E. Grant's a little bit stilted because he still hasn't got sort of the just go with it. Just be yourself kind of thing. But he gets there.
I think he'd have made a great Doctor.
Yes, I mean,
In 1987, he was such a lovely kitten. Grew up to be an awkward cat.
You must have used up
I
his
mean,
9
Richard E.
lives.
Grant really has got that otherworldly
Nice to meet you.
sort of intelligence going on with him. He's
he's got his own flamboyancy.
yeah.
He literally comes with his own flamboyancy.
They keep putting me in places where terrible things are going to happen.
I don't know if you've seen it, but somebody's actually, we might do it afterwards, but somebody's actually done a picture of Richard E. Grant and they photoshopped him as the Doctor, but as this Doctor.
Need to grow that into a tree before
So it's like, oh, that's quite cool.
roots.
There's something a bit Bela Lugosi about it, particularly with this style of design. This is sort of like a Christopher Lee kind of Dracula.
First thing I am.
Yeah.
What do you know about that lump of rock? Only you're the first human being I've seen on the streets tonight, and I was hoping for some assistance.
I've left my house. The floor wasn't solid.
Not solid.
I used to have 28 cats, but they all ran away. All the cats and dogs.
Strange, crazy cat lady.
Well, you need one, don't you, for exposition?
Cats get scared of things like
I do find the stylization with the black lines a bit weird though. It's just good, I like it, but it does make the animation a little bit, because sometimes you got the black lines there and sometimes you're missing.
Yeah. So I was making sure I can see any YouTube comments as well. I use my phone for that.
should stay off the grass.
It's all right. It's all right. It's just some sort of hang on to something.
Quite effective, just the flickering lamp and shaking of the lamp and
Matilda! Oh.
simple animate, but it sells the point.
Hey, how was work? Asking questions. People always get the letters. They can tell you're going to listen to them. They won't last long, they're all very good.
Are they going to see what's on?
It's just
No, don't raise the volume so we can actually hear anything.
next door isn't got theirs to up in the streets quiet. I like it like this.
Don't say that, Joe. Don't say that.
So this I don't companion, I guess.
They're reading a few patients.
I like the fact that they spend time with the normal life.
I've been getting horse. It's not like I've had any.
So because people talk about how they set the setup for Rose is, whereby she goes on a daily job and this and that. Well, this is exactly the same. Exactly the same setup as Rose.
Yeah, it is, but I think they've kind of overdone it a bit in recent years with too much Earth. They haven't spent enough time off solving mysteries in space. I think that's one of the one of the points. You know, even with Peter Capaldi and to some degree Matt Smith as well.
Oh, man.
Away from
Why is everybody staying off the streets?
away from Earth.
Your payslip had your address on it. The phones don't work, there are no current newspapers or magazines, nobody on the streets. So this town has been cut off for what? 3 weeks? And somehow, nobody in Britain has noticed. What have you allowed to happen here, as you humans allow so many things? How can you come in here and start
Oh,
the floor? You're afraid of something coming out of the ground. You're all pussyfooting around, walking on eggshells. If you don't tell me what you're afraid of, I'll keep making noise until I find out for myself.
again, it's the working within the limitations of the animation,
She doesn't know what she's saying. Tell me.
and they do it really, really well. I mean, again, it's Cosgrove Hall, so they know exactly, you know, what they're doing. And again, at this time, Adobe Flash, this is kind of newish technology.
When was it? 2003, wasn't it?
Yeah,
So it seems you're living above an angle.
I mean, this is before Adobe Animate.
Who wants you all to stay very, very quiet.
Yeah, I think it's all right. I mean, all right, it's not as smoothly animated as the David Tennant animated story they did.
Yeah,
But that was sort of like, what, 7 or 8 years later?
yeah. Oh, look, this has got a good animation team working on it. A limited animation team, which is why, again, you get all these close-ups all the time.
I think that works in this kind of story, though. I mean, look at the amount of close-ups they used to do on the faces in Star Trek. You know, it works.
Just kept smearing out her body. She was screaming out all the time, calling out to us to stop her. But we couldn't move. In the end, she didn't have hands anymore. And she
That's quite horrific.
took her face and just solidified.
I'm so sorry. I give you my word. This ends tonight.
Well, thanks for that. Because we might see some of those patients now. The larva is for the ones who really push it. If you're lucky, you'll just get your brain fried by the sound. You know what it's like to be a doctor. Stand by and watch these things and not be able to do anything.
Oh, so many answers to that. No interest in giving them. No wonder you're all afraid.
Sound makes you afraid.
Oh no,
Get behind me.
they say they're down there. In the rocks. They say they're monsters.
That's why I've been sent here. I know about monsters. I'm the doctor.
And there we are. There's episode 1. The Doctor, Richard E. Grant.
Doctor Who?
Yeah. But, I mean, look, this was for the 40th anniversary. There was no, the BBC weren't doing anything for the 40th at all. And what this is the fans coming together and doing something to celebrate themselves. I would say that this kind of spearheaded, because this was 2003. They started production on Doctor Who 2004. So you've got to believe that, you know, for this to come out in the November and for them to start working in the March, you've got to believe that this had an influence on the idea of making Doctor Who again. And I know this is a sort of a remix of the Pertwee opening, but it does work. We're straight into the second episode by Paul Cornell.
You must be the aliens. I've heard so much about you. It's been a long time since anyone seen me, and then I think they were only waiting for Elvis to come on.
Yeah, that'll happen.
I do not kill. They're obviously bioplasmic creatures. Obviously. Masses of goo. The bodies are just crusts with scabs.
Yes.
They'll get themselves back together.
It's kind of Attack of the Blob.
They probably live underground, navigate by sound, and the hot focus use a sonic weapon to stun their
I
prey.
don't know. I suppose it's kind of Attack of the Blob combined with Fires of Pompeii, isn't it?
I suppose so, yeah.
What do you think of the design of the creatures, considering that they're supposed to be like slurry?
Fertilizer bags.
They look the part, don't they, I think?
Quickly.
Kind of, I don't know,
Newspaper.
shit large, mate.
Over there. Say, what do you think you can do? Resist them, surprise them. Oh, and possibly perform a few
Food larvae,
shoot
mate.
So, hush. Don't just stand there.
Doctor, it's like this terrible thing. Vibrations.
You can do it again.
But what they've done with the design of them is they've actually made them look like traditional Doctor Who monsters. You know, they look like drawings of men in rubber suits.
Yeah.
It's not
I mean, that was my take on it, was the fact that they fell back on what they'd already done with previous Doctor Who, where it was more of a traditional monster.
Johnny, it's going to get a good seat. Just us. Why won't you stand the same? I believe I may have let that sit before. You know, cute, decent of you to say. Mildly annoyed.
The writing is sharp. The writing is snappy.
Out now.
Boom.
How big is this thing gonna be? Only it's right next to him.
Well,
It'll be large.
Our house.
Don't you! Don't you! What have you done? Everything! The sonic pulse from that will stun those creatures underground. For hours, if I read their looks right. The ones in the shop will take days to reform. There's no coming from downstairs now, so listen. That's the sound of you being freed.
oh, that's the sound of everybody else panicking.
There's a bit of an explosion.
Yeah. Everybody else is in fright.
Sorry about the house.
It's a weird design. I'm not sure if I'd like it for a lava creature, but it's, again, as he put it, is the crust.
If I got enough here, they're going to be fine.
And again, dealing with the limitations of the animation as well.
Secretary General, it's me. Yes, what about in Lancashire? I was wondering if you could send in a whole team of speleologists, yes.
Yeah, you're not going to get into that. Unless you're a Jadoon, apparently.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
we had enough of that last week, let's be honest. And here we have the TARDIS interior with the Master.
My dear sir, and or Pat was saying something. Do I take it you wish to board the TARDIS by force?
Stand aside, lower creature.
I pride myself that I am the dearest companion we own of this craft, so I bet not afraid I shall walk. As to the nature of our expected intelligence, might I suggest that as the common saying goes, empty vessels make the most noise.
I think not.
As you just found out yourself. I will continue to reflect all your schemes, but dear me, I
So yes, an interesting design of the TARDIS.
You can see how it led to Chris Eccleston's one, though.
Well, I mean, I think the console is very much the McGann console, but I think that all the surrounds is a bit more. I don't know. It's a bit more stylized. It's a bit more museum-esque, I think.
Yeah, okay. It kind of strikes me as being in between the two, McGann and Christopher Eccleston, or the David Tennant, whatever you want to call it.
I specifically asked for a team of speleologists so I can retrieve my TARDIS. Then I'm away from here.
The evacuation phase should be complete by 2000. After that, I need your help.
I put everything I know about these creatures on record and listed a dozen academics and linguists who help you communicate with them.
We can talk to them when they're no longer a threat.
You do that. I won't be there.
I've read your file. Exciting stuff. Help us and we'll get your TARDIS back.
How ridiculous. I seem to attract them, Petrie. They're either arresting me, making strong sweet tea, or killing my friends. Go and find someone else to play your filthy games with.
Doctor, we estimate the civilian death toll at 637. Now, our job is to put ourselves in the way of that, while you get to be superior and eccentric.
What are the control people doing?
Again, it's very sharp, snappy dialogue.
We're allowed to get
Yeah.
the job, but most are so scared they didn't leave the house.
Nobody entered the town.
But it seems not to have occurred to them. Delivery lorries would dump their loads on the edge of town and then report back as normal.
Such amazing control.
Only one person reported seeing a creature before you brought them out of hiding.
Alison Jane, yes, I met her.
The question is, why here? Why just
Oh.
this town?
Because it's on top of a plug of an ancient volcanic rock. I think these creatures evolved on their home planet to take advantage of rock like that, to manipulate it with their sonic cries. The volcanic rock meets metamorphic rock at the hills here. These caves offer access to very near that point. My team of speleologists have
Yeah, we'll be going down there.
I have no idea if he's using factual science there. It's entirely possible Lancashire is on volcanic rock, but I have no idea. It wouldn't surprise me if they did a bit of research into that.
back to the big city.
I'll have a look now, mate.
They don't want to go. That's my town back there.
Maybe this is a chance for Bones to start again.
Oh,
Tell me that's not shaking.
that's a bit more like it. And there's episode 2 done. So it's already switched up the pace. Oh, but yeah, there's a good point as well. So the master in this episode is played by Derek Jacobi. How cool is that?
Yeah. Portent things to come.
Yeah, I mean brilliantly. You know, that's there's so much brilliant stuff in this, and really, you know, it's stuff that you wouldn't expect. But the fact that they cast Derek Jacobi as the master, I mean, there's clearly an influence here on what happened, because this master is literally leading straight into Utopia.
Yeah.
Except this master's an android, whereas the Derek Jacobi one was used the chameleon arch. It's a little bit tragic, don't you think, that the Doctor has to create an android of the master so that you can have a friend? I think that speaks a little bit towards his Doctor.
Copy that. Engage with high explosive. Get it out. Just heard from the helicopter units. An evacuation truck is under attack.
Alas, I thought the explosion would hold them off. They're
Well, I
surprised.
can't be bothered to read all that. There might be volcanic rock. That is literally the longest web page ever looking for a yes.
Don't give a flying.
Please.
Sorry, sir.
This is a recon mission. We find the enemy, fix the position, then either retreat for or call in reinforcements.
How nice of you. I'm just after my TARDIS.
Here you are, Doctor.
I'm here under duress. Remember that, Major. Don't you ever offer me a gun again.
I mean, it's best.
I am not gonna let you control me.
I like the Shalka a little bit more as you see him there, with them in the background, so you can just see the red light. You know, I prefer to see him like that as opposed to being able to see the detail on him. When they're a shapeless mass in the background, that's how I like him.
Be careful you don't miss those.
Which way, Reeves?
This way. Oh, there he's driving. I can sense where the TARDIS is. If we encounter creatures, they'll not open fire. Understand?
You don't give my men orders, Doctor. Understand? What is it?
Dirty gray alien monster suit. Just a guess.
Or rather dozens of them joined together as a common creature. On my mark!
Nice little idea. I don't think they've ever done that in Doctor Who.
Throw them into the corner. The sound will hurt it. You heard him. I'm afraid I just did give them orders. So good.
He did that deliberately.
He has experience with UNIT.
The teeth are deliberate, aren't they? What a wonderful species to have such control over what you're like. Excuse me. I hope I don't taste a boot polish. Yeah. That's it. Take me home, big boy.
Every day presents a new challenge to our identity.
You reached the good ship TARDIS. We're about to busy at the moment. Leave a message after the beep and we'll try and get back to you before you
You should change that message.
He really should, because if it's only Master in the TARDIS, I God knows what they would win.
Why did I choose continuing existence? Listening to him being right all the time when I had the option of a slow, painful death.
It's really, really nice. I know they think it's easy to do in animation, but there's a suggestion that this is an amalgamation creature.
Ah, there the old girl is. It's been lovely, but I must be going.
What are you?
No, it's how are you, and how are you.
I am fine.
You see what I mean?
Watching for the Shalka memories.
And that's who are you. I'm the Doctor. I'm from a highly advanced alien species, entirely different league to you. I only come to this planet for the wine and the total eclipses, and I do love a nice old-fashioned invasion. I think this lot could certainly do with a spot of regime change. What a turnout! There must be,
A bridgehead force of 2,000 Shalka. That's the information you wanted, isn't it?
Shalka, eh? Never heard of you, so forgive me, but you can't be all that. Aha! Like your worm.
I mean, the bravado, the pomposity, and then the dressing down.
Well, I am slightly curious. Why did you only invade a tiny bit of Lancashire?
Our ambition is greater than that.
Was it Yorkshire? My form, by the way, differentiates you from your henchworm. You speak and breathe air. They don't.
I value understanding my enemy. I've experienced simple human culture and randomized individual minds. Lower creatures such as humans aren't involved like Shalka.
Your technology is based on sound built around your natural attack mechanism. Advanced enough to control a black hole and hollow out spaces like this, all within a few weeks. I'm impressed. You know, not that I care either way, and I hate to say it, but if it's a dying homeworld job, you don't need an invasion. The humans don't use the inside of their world. Rather than be their conquerors, you could be their lodgers. Much more fun. Though you probably have to take a turn cleaning up the keyhole.
I'll have money.
Well, as the actress said to the bishop, I'm not human, and I don't care. I just get out of your way.
I think not, Doctor. I think you are a lower creature too. Doctor! I think you have a lower creature's weaknesses, Doctor.
Does this mean you're offering to cook? Stop it! I'll do whatever you want, just don't hurt her!
And being a lower creature, you will do as we say.
Oh, my dear doctor, where have you been? Tells me that you haven't done something foolish and even.
Now you know it's Derek Jacobi. I think you can cure his master.
Is this all? Simple talk. It's hardly worth your humiliation.
Make it 3 at least! We're not going to make it that way either! Retreat! Retreat!
I didn't do anything.
Shh!
You know, I wasn't.
Shh! What are you doing down here?
They grabbed me. That sound they made protected me from the lava.
I should have let you die.
Oh, jeez.
They might have thought that was who I was then. The detached alien observer, but no. As always, only the monsters know me. Only they know how weak I really am.
You killed me because they threatened me. Anyone would have done that.
Well, I did try to do something else last time this happened, which is why I told myself that I would never get into a situation like this again.
What happened?
Doesn't matter.
Doctor, this is not my fault. How do we get out of this?
If it was just me, I'd improvise something. These days, when I
Very
have someone
good.
else to worry about, why couldn't you have offered to sacrifice yourself? It was all down to me.
I'm not going to sacrifice myself and that. It's the dullest place in the universe.
Oh, I think not. You should see my home planet.
I was thinking about leaving with all this happening.
You were about to leave Joe.
I don't know. Maybe I was hoping he'd come with me.
Did he know how you felt?
I just started telling you how unhappy I was. Only then the place got invaded by aliens. Hey.
My word, character development and complexity.
You know, killed.
We haven't seen that in Doctor Who for some time.
Things up in the air. Oh, that's really selfish, right?
How much more memorable than Yaz is this character already?
Who?
My head.
Where did you get that wound?
I don't know. Maybe when the house exploded. I've been getting headaches ever since they brought me down here.
It could be the atmosphere. Crime keeps air circulating down here rather than slipping in and out of its lungs. But there's a lot of volcanic gas around.
That's my
Do
problem.
you fancy a puff of my huffer?
We now understand the principles of your craft.
Do you? Could you explain it to me?
A simple cause and effect device. The usual lower creature conceits. Its operation will prove well within our abilities.
I think I would like to see the Shalka realised as an actual puppet.
Your plaintive cries didn't help. Shh.
The space-time travel to our homeworld is created by the sonic control of singularity. Set like this, it can transport our eyes instantly across thousands of light years. Set like this, it's a black hole. It crashes whatever is thrown into it down to a mathematical point. We use it to
That's technically wrong. That's not really how a black hole works.
Lower creatures always assume their cries will have some effect on us. It's very strange.
You notice the cut on her head was reversed because they just flipped the model. Yeah, our current understanding of a black hole is that it doesn't crush you down to a mathematical point. It does something rather complex on the quantum scale. We're not going to go into that.
Yeah, really wobbly, timey-wimey.
There you go. Animation Cosmopole. People responsible for Wind in the Willows, Danger Mouse, Avenger Penguins, Count Dracula. The Count Dracula makes me laugh no end. I love Count Dracula. It's what I miss Count Dracula. I don't know, understand, but you seem to be a little bit ahead of me.
I've got a second load of credits on my part 3 for some reason.
Huh, okay.
Different credits, set out differently, so I'll catch up, don't worry. I'm on it.
But I'm enjoying it so far, I've got to be honest, I really am. I wasn't, it's been a long time since I've seen it. Here we go, episode 4. Back in the TARDIS. Again, I do like the design.
You've hurt yourself again. Ah, thank you. My plan worked perfectly. But of course it was a plan. I knew he would deactivate me, otherwise I would prevent him from finding all the secrets of this craft. And I see he's done just that. So, now you need me to tell you how to work.
Yeah, that central console area, that's very much like the 9th and 10th Doctor TARDIS, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Oof, she's back.
Cindy, are you okay?
What are you doing here? Where am I?
You're back in London. Where have you been?
They let me go. Why would they do that? The doctor. They killed the doctor.
Shh. It's okay now. You with me. I'll get you out of there.
I'm all synced up again now.
Doctor, I'm terribly sorry, but I'm afraid that I'm about to die. The aliens are called Shalka. They have a warp gate to their homeworld. Knock that out, and they may do a deal. I know you don't know much about me, Kenneth, and this is hardly the time to start a friendship. But just know this, I was finished anyway. Hopeless. I can't do this anymore. I got her killed again. It's not the first time. So it's up I don't continue. And I'm happy with that. I do, however, have some last words for the universe. They are battery low. This is not how I want to spend my last few remaining seconds. Time machine, TARDIS. You're part of the ties. If I can get you to remember that. I just need a door handle. Don't worry about the sign. Ah, you look busy.
Lovely little rescue.
Doctor, you're alive! I mean, how dare you bring the crowd to the glorious Shalka Confederacy with your presence?
Right, Doctor. Hello. And that's the master, who I see isn't wholly ultimate. And this.
Yeah, I'll do it. Again, another brilliant idea.
Bye.
I can explain.
You don't have to.
Have you saved the day?
No. Help me. There's just a chance you may still be alive. We can do a biological search of the camp.
Who are we searching for?
Allison.
A young woman again.
Yes, again. Stop! We can't take off anyway. The Shalka force field.
Have now been set to hold the car is in the secondary configuration mode. Once we change it,
I have to be sure.
on this point, your programming of my electronic brain is quite specific. Leave the girl behind.
I can't do this anymore.
Yet, you just did. As always, you are at least two things at once. Perhaps your most infuriatingly human trait.
Interesting that part of the sign is missing.
Well, I'm surprised to see you back here. Major Kenneth, you must forgive me. I've insulted your profession, taken command of your men, been inexcusably rude and hopeless in the face of...
I heard that Miss Cheney said you'd been thrown into a black hole.
Allison's alive. Why did the Shalka let her go?
She doesn't know. I didn't get her into elsewhere.
Yes, shortly. But for the moment, I prefer if she weren't too close at hand. She and her boyfriend really need to talk.
So this is fascinating. I haven't seen one of these since I was a young man. So, now you have it. Why are you still here?
Indeed. I rather came back because of a message I left for you. This is the doctor. I'm terribly sorry, but I'm afraid that I'm about to die. Nothing completely here. So you can manage on your own?
Absolutely.
Only...
It's got a sharp whip to it, hasn't it?
I might
Yeah.
not be quite so useless now.
Well, it's a pity we won't get a chance to find out.
Excuse me, sir. Oh, we've got one. Oh, no. I was hoping you got crushed under an avalanche. Sorry, sir. Permission to speak freely, retroactively. Sir, granted. You captured a Shalka? Could I just...
As you wish.
They're cramming a lot into these 10, 15 minutes that they have to work with.
They are.
He's still alive after being thrown in a black hole.
I don't think your mum's out.
No. My old stomping ground. I used to play knockdown ginger on this street. And now here I am talking about outer space. I mean,
I don't want to be here.
Joe, can we talk
I wish they'd pick a direction for a scar to go and stick with it.
I won't be here, Alison. I can feel it.
Where you just drawn to it all the time, though.
Oh,
What is he doing?
I don't know. I didn't mean to do that.
Is he okay?
He's still breathing.
I've done that.
Not now. Not here.
Something's making me get back in the truck, Alec.
Joe, what's happening? I have to call the doctor. But I can't do it. No!
Mind control.
I was afraid to wait because of the oxygen centers. Oxygen? Because I jumped into the pure stuff and it knocked it out.
Can't be a bounce on them with pure oxygen.
No, but it you could set up something like an oxygen tent, we can get one from the hospital. Get this Shalka wrapped up in one. Keep feeding it oxygen and get it over to the chemistry lab at the school.
Whatever he's planning to do to you, fella, I wouldn't be in your... Whatever you do for shoes. Don't bully it. Where the man breathes, don't bully the monster.
And again, it's very traditional Doctor Who.
Yeah, very much the format they should have stuck with. A lot of it.
No idea where
Oh, absolutely. I mean, or at least what they should have returned to anyway,
Oh, poor guy.
because it's very sharp.
Don't stop yourself, Joe. Neither of us could. Listen, wherever we end up, I need to get my head looked at.
It's okay. We will.
It feels like there's something inside.
Dun, dun, dun.
Sorry, can't have you communicating with your fellows. You're not going to get just enough volcanic gas to stay alive and talk to me. Hear that? We humanoids could be part of your sonic network. We're not the primitives you think we are.
You are, Doctor? Strong and sweet.
Put it some distance from me.
This is a callback to his own character,
I'm glad.
his own story arc. It's only 4 episodes so far.
Much more powerful than we are. The rest of them knew we had it here. It'd be terrible. They'd come for us. You fought them at the caves, and you telling me you were afraid?
That's it. Of course not.
Not your threat. Could be better. I think I'm getting laryngitis. Keep an eye on it for a moment. I'm just popping out to do something. Exactly.
It's a trap.
What happened? You wanted Acting to do that to me.
The Shalka scream doesn't just scare people into obeying. It softens them up for long-term control.
What are you going on about?
If you live under a nasty landlord for a long time, you get to the point where he doesn't have to keep bashing on the ceiling.
Stop! What about this gas? Where did that come from?
Out of your mouth, in a manner of speaking. Get it back in the tent. I need to talk to your boss.
I could sue him for that. If I could get a lawyer to believe it.
Yeah. Don't give him ideas for Doctor Who. God, I'll be a YouTube no plot. I will.
Just happy to see you.
Because something's happened.
Another trial of the time, but this time we'll be suing him.
Relatives have been asked to provide places for them. As far as we can tell, none of them have arrived.
They want us to stop here. Why? What's here? Everyone we know. The sound is still telling everyone what to do, even when we can't hear it. Isn't that your boss?
Listen, everyone's here, Alison. The soldiers evacuated us, but instead of going where we were supposed to, we came here.
Has everyone got something in their head? Shh.
No.
Oh,
Take a look. Okay.
So where are they?
In the Pennines, middle of nowhere. A place called Edale Wood. Thousands of them. The local police thought it was an illegal raid and have called for reinforcements.
That's not on volcanic rock. They must be using some form of direct control. Lost.
Again, still drawing mystery.
It must be something from the explosion in the shop. Let me see. Tell me if I'm hearing you.
I don't care, just get it out.
It's just... What is this?
John?
No, just wait. It's okay. I think I've nearly got it. Hold on. Oh, no.
Yeah, you don't want that. That's quite disgusting. I've got to be honest. That is quite disgusting. Yeah. So far, it's actually going on a great pace.
Yeah.
I don't actually remember it being this pacey.
I remember I enjoyed it when I saw it. I mean, I actually watched it online when it was first on.
Yeah. But when I had it on DVD, I watched it as soon as I got it. Then I watched all the special features, and I don't think I've watched it since. So it's been, it's been a while. But it is 100% Doctor Who, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not it's not pulling any punches, and Richard E. Grant's Doctor, like I said, he started off really stilted, but now we get into the 5th episode. He's as flamboyant as all, and like we're talking about serious character development, and Alison has way more character than anybody that we've seen come into Doctor Who for the past couple of years. That's just disturbing.
Whatever happens, Abby, remember I know.
She was dumping your house, pal.
Stop it. We can still shout, right? Everyone, shout for help!
Is it one of those rain things? What do they want to get in here for? We're locked up for the weekend! Go away!
There he is, my friend. It's my understanding that he actually asked to be part of this.
Very small part of it.
Oh yeah. I think, I mean, if I remember rightly, at this time he had just started doing Casanova. Rubber bullets, damn it.
Happy with the head extension. 3 rounds, rapid.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just disturbing.
I can't find a pulse. And with so many to choose from. That's 2-1 to me in the game of I thought you were dead, Doctor. You didn't shoot anyone there. Well done.
About time we had some luck.
About time we met our own. Why are the Shalka still controlling these people? What's so special about some dull warehouse?
Sir, it's just come over the RT. It's not just this place. 26 communities have been herbalized worldwide. There may be others we're not even aware of.
They're arranging themselves precisely around the planet. Do you have a map of
But not Australia.
global projection? Do this instead. If you get a satellite photo of that part of Siberia, you'll find find control people.
Oh no, there is some in Australia.
Something coming in, sir. China. It's live on American satellite. It's standing still.
We have to stop the populations reaching their destinations. We have to try and coordinate the armed forces in these places.
The Chinese have started shooting. Doctor, eventually this will be the story everywhere.
The Shalka will protect them, but they can afford to lose a lot of slaves. I doubt the loss of Alison's whole community will make any difference to their plan.
Jeez.
You've both still got sore throats, haven't you?
And so have I. In case you've forgotten. So did a lot of people. Loads of patients with it for weeks now.
They're using humans to transmit the scream. They've been subsonically training you up while you've been under the influence.
What for?
Your vocal cords have evolved in this atmosphere. Theirs haven't. The Shalka's preferred atmosphere, kind of thing you get deep inside a planet rather than on the surface. That's what our captured Shalka got agreed to make, a chemical reaction caused by severe agitation at the molecular level. The scream forms the nitrogen and oxygen in the atmosphere into the more complex compounds the Shalka like.
Why can't the Shalka do that themselves?
This is the fast-track invasion plan. Get you to do it for them. They've been waiting these 3 weeks until they could activate all their slaves at once, each one led by someone like Allison, with a Shalka in their head.
This new atmosphere.
You won't be able to breathe it.
Fire in the exposition at you.
Solar radiation either. The weather's about to become our biggest enemy. The Shalka will move freely on the surface in the chaos, finishing off the survivors.
How long have we got?
The atmosphere is a sensitive system. Given this many release sites, once the slaves start screaming, perhaps an hour.
Just absolutely gunning it through the exposition.
Regret to say, Doctor, but we have to bond these people, or at least eliminate the leaders with a Shalka in their heads.
Could all the governments of the world be persuaded to do that within the hour?
Doubtful. No time. What else can we do?
Oh, I can think of so many things, Major. But for the moment, you'll have to trust me. And her.
What?
Homo sapiens has minutes to live. I have to engage the Shalka, and I can't do it without you. So, no pressure.
Just show me what I have to do.
Doctor, I don't think...
No time, Major. Alison, please.
Go on, Joe. Ask me to stay with you. In the circumstances, are you really going to do that? Are you?
No.
We can talk when I get
There we go.
Go. Go on. Save the world.
1 hour. Alison, come on.
I'll go and see to the truth.
She's a willing, he's not.
Come with me.
I mean, it's just
Doctor.
great stuff. And again, the character development for Alison is just as fast as it goes. I mean, you know exactly who Alison is. Just amazing. It's just good writing. At the end of the day, it's just good writing. And again, they were fire in the exposition at us. But at least it wasn't just bland exposition. It was exposition that made sense. So
You remind me of all the others. Horrifyingly.
What's that supposed to mean?
we'll have a good chat about this before we start End of the World. But
Master.
I'm just enjoying it.
Evening. Come to like me when you get to
Extreme state of meditation in readiness for what I must do. Hard to clear your mind of what it's back in 5 minutes, mate.
Again, the wit is just so.
What do you think?
just a touch back.
I learned to do that under Dame Nelly.
But don't worry. One would never guess.
What are you two going about? I thought this was serious.
Serious. Alison, this is me being...
I mean, I don't know what to say. It's just from where we started to where we are now. It says you know, the development of the Doctor character is just great.
Is the master coming with us?
No, you can't leave the TARDIS. You know, without so many Shalka about, you could really see the architecture. See that spiral on the roof?
Oh, yeah. Very Gaudi.
Now, there was a man who knew a thing or two about string. Yeah, I was there when he ran out.
Great stuff.
Followed the homemade.
I gave up a degree in history to do with the Japan.
I mean,
Doctor, see the technology you provide. It's strapped.
she's already given up something to be with Joe, and now she's going with the doctor.
Oh yes, your empire of a billion worlds. I have a horrible idea that now I know where that is.
I think not.
I used the TARDIS scanner to search for recent meteor debris, plus traces of radiation that suggest a miniature wormhole. You seek out worlds that are in ecological trouble, and then you pounce on them with one of these things.
Now look at that. That's
Dead worlds, lost civilizations. History says they destroy themselves.
we got something to talk about after this, but there's lots going on with this.
Limiting factor of the cosmos, the death principle. If cultures wander down an ecological cul-de-sac, you grab them by the throat and throttle them.
And when the Earth's original atmosphere has been stripped away, and raw radiation has cleansed the surface, millions of our kind will arise from the moonfield and live off pure.
This is why Orphan 55 didn't work, and this bloody well does.
Yes, I know it's chaos out there. It's chaos out there.
It's using the same sort of points, but it's attacking it completely differently.
Through to someone in the cabinet office. I don't care. Anyone.
And of course, after this, we are going to be doing the end of the world, so
I have sent here. All my travels as a tiny one, I never saw it. You're not predators. You're death incarnate.
Hello. Sir, go away from the window, sir. The sun. It's hard radiation. Oh, the ozone layer has been stripped away. We need to organize the men, get some kind of protection. Protection. I think it's a bit late for
I mean, this
the end of the world.
and it always goes too far. You always got to pull the trigger. Pull the trigger, set off a bomb, go over the cliff. So yeah, we come up to the final episode of this, and it's delivering a story that once you all piece it all together, it's delivering a story about pollution, about climate change. It's doing all these sorts of things, and yet it does it so well that you don't mind it. It's not trying to teach you a lesson. It's just commenting on a situation.
No, it's not going. It's your fault.
Exactly. But I mean, it's a totally different approach. Like this is Orphan 55 or Praxias, and it's handling it in such a different way. Like, I don't mind if Paul Cornell takes over as Doctor Who right there. Here we go. Like I said, they strip the planet bare. They choose a planet that's in ecological trouble. They choose it, and then they push it over its edge, and then strip it bare. And again, they made it, it's almost like an anti-war speech as well.
Why is it keeping that going? The Shalka share the screen like whale song, a way to transmit a lot of messages between each other at high speed. Just on the internet. And that machine adds automatic coordination. It keeps all their slaves doing what they're supposed to be doing, without the Shalka having to think about every little command. You must be able to record, playback, relay, and boost the screens.
Their sonic service provider.
Stop that.
What's that do?
Tell you what, mate, this is so good. This is so good. I keep forgetting we're streaming. We're supposed to be talking about it.
I know. But the banter between the two of them now, the banter back and forth. Bear in mind, I want you to keep this in mind, right? we're on episode 6 now. So we have been going for about an hour with this episode. The dynamic is already there. The dynamic between the Doctor and the companion is there. You know who she is, you know who he is.
Time, I hope you'll allow me my eccentricities, Alison. Sometimes they're all I or the world have got.
So why you put me down here? So you can do this in front of me and save my life?
Of course not. Never be sure about it. I need you in a very practical way. Oh, what it must be like to escape the reliance of all life on other life, to take sustenance directly from worlds. They take good care of their planets, Alison, after they've transformed them. Don't let it take you over! Stop slapping me! I wasn't. My neurons were linked to it. I was learning from it and reprogramming it. I can understand the screen now. All that beautiful information. That was the pleasurable part. Now, here comes the dangerous bit.
Just slapping shit out of him like.
I must say, I'm getting tired of all your ooh. Nul point, says the damn Lord Jill. Hang on a second. Am I irritating you yet? You'll have to do better than that. Look how strong the Time Lord is. Look how he stands up to you. Million worlds, top predator of the cosmos. You're just a bunch of one-penny jelly snakes. Oh, hit me again, George. Perfect pitch. Finally.
Look at the size of that creature, you know.
I think, therefore, I win.
You are the one.
You kept your human vocal cords.
Which doesn't prevent me from doing this. Avatar, you will only destroy an unprepared or inexperienced Shalka. We have a tradition of sonic combat.
And I have a tradition of getting in the way.
You are not preventing the destruction of this world by delaying me. The screen continues to operate without my personal
It's
direction.
a very
The knowledge of your whole system in my head.
dinosaur design, isn't it?
Get the hang of this.
Yeah.
Or perhaps I'll just get you to fire me in the right direction.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Alison! Die! Doctor! Die! That's just it, Prime. Life won't. The nodule! The big one! Hit it! Oh, yes! Yes! Okay. Hundreds of Shalka have taken up positions just under the surface to protect the slaves and direct operations. They're starting to ask why they haven't had any central command for the last couple of minutes. They're more than capable of getting the slave to finish the job.
How would not?
The atmosphere could react and change any second. Do you trust me?
Oh, not yes!
This is why I
How needy are you? Very.
want you to take your passenger back on board. Right. I put it into
There was no way to wash that.
Via the screen. A crew in your head already connected to a
Oh, lovely.
It's just dirty.
It just feels like. Oh,
You're in charge now. You're the center of Shalka operations. Tell the slaves to shut up. Shalka will try and stop you. You mustn't let them.
listen to me.
I mean, there are so many elements of New Who. Because this reminds me of like Pyramid at the End of the World.
They're trying to drown me out. Trying to take control back.
Oh, Pyramid at the End of the World reminds me of this.
Now you've got all those people on your side. You can do it. Change of plan. Am I speaking to the Shalka now?
Yes.
Are you all on the surface, all trying to control every single one of those humans on your own, spinning all those plates at once?
Yes.
Well then, this is how it feels to drop them.
And there it is, the end of Star Trek Beyond. Except this one makes sense.
Come to the cabaret. They've gone. Vaporized, all of them, including the little ones. Out indeed.
We could have used the screen to fix the atmosphere. Not just to stop the Shalka, but to get rid of all the pollution. All I needed was another couple of seconds.
I wouldn't have allowed you that. Humans can sort out the problems they make themselves.
Every time I think that I'm essentially.
I feel the same way. I don't like the military, but I have so many friends in it. I say I do not kill, but then I exterminate thousands.
Look, you do your best to keep all the plates from smashing. You don't have to be perfect. Okay?
Okay. So, tea.
So very well done.
It's only antiseptic, Sergeant. Hold still.
Permission to howl, sir.
Permission denied. There. Oh, smell the air breeze.
Fresh.
I think we're going to be all right.
Who's we, sir?
Reeves.
This place is so huge.
You have seen but a small part of it, my dear Miss Jamie. Tell me, do you plan to stay long enough to explore?
Stay.
Yes.
I don't think I'll be invited.
He would never invite you. And neither would I, because I am by no means fond of you.
So why do you call me my leader?
I call everyone that. However, loath as I am to admit it, you offer him a companionship that I do not. One he has not allowed himself for a long time.
Let's not go there.
What happened to make him such an emotional island?
It is for him to tell those somebody. But I think he sees an echo of you.
Have you always done with him?
By no means. I was an aide to the doctor after he had lost me. During the events that so damaged him. In return, he offered me a last chance for salvation. An offer I was foolish enough to accept, as those who punish us are always sending us into danger. And I doubt we will ever, as the doctor promised me, reach the place he calls Vulcan Regis. Of one thing, however, I am certain. He wants you to stay and share his exile. Trust me.
Exile? Exile from what?
You left the umbrella stand in the Zeppelin hangar and gave
Zeppelin.
So easy to write this into actual Doctor Who.
He landed back at the school.
And controller of the old girl's a bit erratic. Shame that worm never told me how it works.
Couldn't you have got us back after it stopped raining at least?
Won't, not for ages. The Earth needs to sort itself out. The English will love it. Probably try to conquer the world all over again, which would be bad.
If I stay with you, could we go back and see the pyramids? Find out who really built them?
The TARDIS can travel to any time or place. Ah, here comes your boyfriend. So, all's well that ends well, eh?
Awesome. Doctor, the Prime Minister and the US President want to thank you. The UN has already touched you on a closed session, and I believe there's even talk of a parade.
Oh, let's not get all mushy, Major. Leave that to the Shalka, eh?
You saved the world, Doctor. Good on you.
So, this really is goodbye.
Awesome.
Goodbye.
Doctor, wait.
What on earth for?
I have to say goodbye to Joe.
Alison?
The doctor can drop me off at Mum's place. I'll be okay.
Doctor, Greaves, how fabulous! You've got a tan.
Permission to tongue him, sir? Suit yourself. Good for you to get outside.
I want to do something. This is my chance to travel in a time machine.
Doctor, how do you know that you'll be able to get back?
Time machine, Joe. She's probably back there already. Go on. Let her come up and see.
I like that phone. I want that phone.
Hello, Mrs. Cheney. Is Alison there? Oh, I see. You know.
Well, I guess now we know, don't we?
Yeah, that's a controller.
You can't just saunter off again, Doctor. Not on your own.
You're right, Major. Not on my own.
Doctor,
Yes, Major.
fancy an extra hand.
Not enough room, Major. She's smaller than she looks. Ah, the master wants to go.
Does it always have to make that awful racket?
I'm afraid you'll have to get used to that.
Is there anything else I have to get used to?
Ship rules. No running, no jumping, no pushing, and no slapping.
And off he goes. There we are. Scream of the Shalka. All done. Let's stop that there. So, it's been a while since I've seen that.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed it. First of all, the character development. I knew that. I remember seeing Richard E. Grant start off by being just this really stoic, just slab of a character, and then as it goes on, it becomes more and more eccentric. And I had forgotten how good and how witty this story was. And it's a story about pollution. It's a story about not looking after the planet. It's a story about all these things, about the follies of war and all this sort of stuff, without preaching.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it does it so well. I mean, now you've seen it. What do you really think? You know about what the fans, and they were fans at the time. What do you think about what the fans made for the 40th anniversary?
I think it's brilliant. I've forgotten how good that was. I mean, you look at it and compare it to what we've had recently. It wasn't preachy. We had a black female lead character without them tokenising it or anything, which is what they absolutely shouldn't do. She was just on it and was brilliant. It was everything that the new series wasn't. You know, it didn't do that.
Yes,
Which
exactly.
The main issue with the latest series was all the finger pointing and the blame and look who we've got and you know, this person's gay and this person's black and this, but we don't need that. We need more of what we just watched. You know, just
Exactly.
tell a story
by buckets.
Can accept people for who they are and what they're talking about without being blamed for something.
Yes.
Feel guilty.
And I think, like, again, 6 episodes, right? So we just under an hour and a half with what we just saw, and within the first 3 episodes, we had a real good idea of who Alison was.
Yeah,
a real good idea, and you know, as I mentioned when we were watching it, we had callbacks to the actual story about making hot tea. And that was a callback to a previous episode of this show. So it became a running gag, and then you ended up with her making tea at the end. So it just really handled it very, very well. And again, with Alison, this was a character that had already given up a lot.
Yeah.
To pursue something that wasn't hers. Like it was an idea that wasn't hers. It was a life that she didn't want. This was a character that was a front runner for Rose as a character, but there's so much in this that's like just crammed in, and you forget how many good ideas that are just rammed. Like I absolutely loved the bit where he saw it at the phone and it turned into a piece of it because it was a piece of the TARDIS. And it just turned into a portal, and it's just like there's an idea that I wish they would do, just because there's no need for the TARDIS to be anything more than just a pair of doors. You know, it's a frame and a door, and that's all you need. It disguises itself as a police box, yes, but you can have the front of the TARDIS just be a door.
Yeah.
You know, so that there was that idea which I really, really loved.
So you mentioning that's something I liked about this was very limited use of the Sonic.
Oh yeah. I think he only used it twice. I think
used it as a tool, which is what it's supposed to be used for.
Yeah, exactly. And again, you know, we're talking about the story here, and this the Shalka. To me, the only thing I wasn't keen on with the Shalka was that they made them reptilian. And I understand why they went that route, is just to give you an instant sort of, they are alien. Whereas I think that because they were lava creatures, I think it would have been much nicer to have seen them the way we saw them in the dark, where they were the silhouette, where these red cracks of light were coming through them. And but you know, that's a character design thing. But as an alien design, particularly when you see the prime Shalka, you know, and when you see it from the side, you can see that sort of spine sticking up the back and going down, and it's just like, this is an exotic creature. This is a very, very and they were trying to go a bit alien with it. I don't think the design quite. Not for this, but maybe if they had said like that the Shalka had based it on a different creature, then I would be like, yeah, I'm 100% on board with this. But I mean, there's lots of things that I like in this. I don't mind the TARDIS interior. I find to be a little bit big for my liking. Like we were talking about how the Joe Martin TARDIS was a little bit small. Yeah. Whereas this one's it's too much of a ballroom, this one, whereby you can't quite see the wall. But I also like the fact that he's got an elevator in an old style hotel elevator with the old style needle. Why not? Why? Well, you know, this is a minefield of ideas just all thrown into this episode. And the Master being an android, played by Derek Jacobi. It's just there is so much here, and you forget that it is just 6 15-minute episodes.
Yeah, I think it's only the last one. It's actually 15 minutes. I think it's the
others are a bit shorter, yeah.
Something like that.
But great ideas with the black hole, with. Again, the thing that stood out to me was the character development that they slapped on for Alison, because she just literally, you knew she was a hard-working girl that had given up. So she gave up being a historian to be with Joe. She'd given up her life to end up working in that pub. She was disenfranchised. It was just what a brilliant, and I mean this. It was a brilliant bit of storytelling, and I've got to be honest. I enjoyed that a hell of a lot more than I remember enjoying it. And I think it's because of what we've had for the past 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Because this Doctor became Richard E. Grant. Well, that's interesting. Richard E. Grant, when he took over the role here, you could see he wasn't really the Doctor until a little bit later on into when, like I said before, once he started relaxing, he very much fell into being the Doctor. He very much, his witticism, his own wry wit became part of the character. So,
I know it would have changed things from 2005 onwards, but imagine that story, which I've just checked. The running time on that is 2 seconds short of an hour and 20 minutes. Imagine that story if it started off with Paul McGann falling out of a TARDIS and regenerating into Richard E. Grant, and that being a regeneration story, which is why he was so stiff at the beginning.
Well, here's my take on it. This is why I think that you could get away with writing into canon. I know he doesn't quite look gay, but there's everything to say from the point of view that I'm taking it is that this could be a story that takes place during the Time War.
So him being the War Doctor.
Yeah, just a younger version.
Yeah.
Because they even make mention of the fact that he's escaping something, he's running away from something, and something horrible, something terrible has happened. So there's all these little ideas that are just laid down, and he makes mention of somebody that died, a girl that died. Well, if you remember Night of the Doctor, what happened in Night of the Doctor?
There's a girl that died.
So there's so much stuff in there, and there's so much. I'm just trying to get to the end of the world. Where we go? There. So yeah, there's so much stuff in here where it's very, very easy. I mean, Derek Jacobi is the master, and he's not even the real master because this master's an android. Well, why would he be an android? Because the other one's fighting in the Time War. I mean, there's so much stuff going on with this. I just think it's very, very well. It's a lot, and even the animation style, even though it's unsophisticated, it doesn't bother me.
No, it didn't bother me either. I actually thought it looked pretty good. I'm watching a standard definition digital file blown up to 47 inches. So it still looked all right.
Yeah, well, again, you've got to remember as well, it was never made for being put on HD either. It was never made for that. It was made for 52 kilobyte streaming. this was pre-broadband. Remember that. So it wasn't made for. It was made for Adobe Flash as a Flash file. Yeah, I
think having that as a young version of the War Doctor, we should just write that into our own canon on your channel and sod everybody else.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, I mean, I would accept it because
me too.
Because it's just one of those. It's easy to write in as well because you could just the Time Lords have altered the Doctor before now. So there's no reason why the Doctor couldn't have altered him to be this Richard E. Grant Doctor to get him to do something. Because he said he was sent there. He didn't say he went there. He said he was sent.
Yeah.
So it's entirely possible that the War Doctor was doing something, and the Time Lords sort of went, we've got something that we need you to take care of. And that will help with the Time War because maybe the Shalka have something to do with the time. It's easy enough. There's so many things laid into this story that you could easily write your way around.
Oh, absolutely. There's so many things that fit.
Yeah, and again, brilliant. Alison, brilliant companion, just brilliant. That thing sticking out of her head was disgusting. And it was more disgusting than the Dalek rod, because that just looked weird, having the Dalek eye stalk sticking out.
Yeah.
Whereas that looked messy.
Well, that was a Virgin on the Geiger, weren't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was very much. It was unpleasant. So overall, my thoughts on Scream of the Shalka with the way it was written, such sharp, fast-paced dialogue, really, really witty, great back and forth, and it wasn't one way. The Doctor would be pompous and give off his bravado and sort of go barging in with his ego, but then he would get shut down, but then he would flip it again and then shut them down as well. So there's a good bit of back and forth. And then, of course, you got the back and forth between him and Alison then, and she shuts him down as well. And there's even that bit where she's just slapping him around the face. He's like, no, I meant to do this, you know? So, and it's her trying to sort of figure out, understand. She's a very good character. That sort of character has been missing from Doctor Who for a while now. I mean, even Bill Potts wasn't so well developed. And I like Bill, I do, but it took a while to get there. Whereas, this would have been just under 2 episodes of Modern Who, and like by the time we got to the end of the first sort of 45 minutes, we knew who Alison was. And the same with Joe as well. Joe's a doctor, and this guy that's got his own ambitions, but he's kind of blind to everybody else's life. So he's a good guy. He's a good person. He's trying to do the right thing, but he's a little bit just too caught up in his own thing.
Yeah. So he's the wrong person for her, and they established that very well in the dialogue.
Exactly.
I tell you what, I didn't remember how good that was. I would actually give that on the strength of the characterization, the way they developed the characters, the storytelling, the sharp dialogue. I love the art style. I like the Shalka as well. I'd give that a 9 out of 10, easy.
Yes, I mean, I'd put up. I'm going to take a point off the animation because there's nothing against them. They did the best that they could with what they had and the technology at the time. It's not their fault, but I'm going to take a point off the animation there. I'll give it an 8. I'll give it an 8.5 at least.
So if you take a point off mine, that makes it 8. If we meet in the middle, we give it an 8.5 between us collectively.
Yeah, I think so. Because I tell you the other thing I liked, which I am drawn to yet, was the technobabble.
Yeah.
The technobabble follows its own logic. And when you've got technobabble that doesn't make sense, it's just usually press this button and then it doesn't work. Whereas the technobabble in Scream of the Shalka is very much of this follows a line of logic that actually does work.
Yeah.
This follows a line of logic whereby the Shalka with the oxygen and the oxygen mix and the people with the sore throats and all this stuff, and then the Doctor comes in with, oh look, here's the air that the Shalka breathe. And you go, the Shalka have been adapted to the human they can't adapt to the human atmosphere. So with the human vocal cords, and they've got them oscillating, so they've got sore throats. I mean, it was all, and everything fell along the line of logic, and right up to the point whereby, like I said, at the end when it gets to the end of the episode where Alison's in control and she's taking control of the Shalka, it was very much the pyramid at the end of the world, and that story arc whereby Bill has to think about her mother, and that's the one thing I didn't like about that story was she used love to kill them, or love to whereas this was just her like, no, you're the person for this. I've reprogrammed this for you. It showed the Doctor being smart. It showed Alison being smart. It showed the two of them working together. This was not a I'm doing this out the way, barge out the way. This was a case of we need to work together here to do this. I can't do it, you can't do it, but if I do this and you do this, we can both. And this is how a companion works. This is how a companion relationship works. And I mean, I got nothing else to add. The animation looked cool, very stylized. Richard E. Grant, slow start, got there in the end. Absolutely top job. That Scream of the Shalka, I have nothing else to add. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I wish Brigadier Arthur Gordon Lethbridge Stewart had been in there, but this was a different group. This wasn't UNIT, so. But that's. Have you got any more to add to Scream of the Shalka?
I'm just wondering, did they do any Allison and Richard E. Grant Big Finish audios? Is there any more to these characters?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either, which is a shame.
I don't actually know who played Alison. I haven't looked it up.
That was Sophie Okonedo.
I know that name. Yeah.
Amongst Doctor Who fans, she is now better known as Liz 10, a character she played in The Beast Below and the Pandorica Opens episode.
Oh, she was the Queen. Yes, wasn't she?
Yeah, Liz 10, yeah, the Queen.
Yeah. My God, so I'm looking at a picture of her here. She looks like the animated character.
Yeah, she does, doesn't she?
Particularly the picture I'm looking at, it's very much based on her, for sure. Oh, man, yeah. Oh, she's 51, Jesus. Okay. Yeah.
I'm just looking on the Wikipedia page, the TARDIS wiki, before we get off it, to see if there's any more interesting facts I can spew out.
Yeah.
What the hell's that?
Oh, this is my chair.
Oh,
I lean forward on my chair and it makes a little squeak.
yeah, well, when it was first broadcast, this was advertised by the BBC as the Ninth Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that explains my strange credits. It says, if the viewer right-clicks and selects play after the end of episode 3, an alternative version of the closing credits play.
Okay. Yeah.
That explains that. That's all production background. I was just seeing, I thought there was something to do with continuity on it. That doesn't say anything about that. It just says about
It's a very tight script, man. It's a very tight script.
yeah, definitely.
I love the fact that the Master got a little bit narky with the Doctor for liking Bognor Regis. I could just imagine the Doctor just perusing around Butlins.
Oh dear, that was. Yeah, no, I've got nothing else to add other than that was fantastic compared to how I remember it. I mean, I remember that I liked it, but I didn't realise it was that good.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a shame that the DVD I'm edited into one story. That you keep having to go through episode by episode by episode. But
yeah.
I mean, yeah, thoroughly enjoyable. We haven't had a Doctor Who that good Oh, we haven't had a Doctor Who that good since Heaven Sent.
Yeah,
That's-
mate, right.
That's probably the last time we had one that good. That was that thorough, that rich in storytelling. Maybe, I mean, like, that was on the line. If you had to ask me, I'd say that was probably on the line of something like Zygon Invasion. On par with. So, I mean, I was incredibly happy with that. But anyway, that's that out of the way. That's Scream of the Shalka done. Shall we crack on with The End of the World?
We shall, yeah, we shall.
Excellent. So here we go. I've got mine set up ready.
I've got a screen full of Autons ready to go.
Autons?
Yeah, it's got a pre-credit sequence, this one. We should have.
Oh, okay, maybe. Oh, yeah, might have a quick sort of recap. I've just got a picture of Christopher Eccleston looking up with his mouth open. So 2005, Christopher Eccleston, second episode at The End of the World. I'm going to press play now. And it's loading. BBC, here we go. That might be a bit loud. I don't know how loud that is. We'll find out now. It's not too bad.
I'm the doctor, by the way. What's your name?
Rose.
Nice to meet you, Rose.
Run for your life. Good way to introduce him.
If someone wants to give me time to get through that door, believe me, you've tried.
Yes. Bit weird at that moment. Because it's just like Christopher Eccleston just standing there, being held by Autons.
Right then, Rose, Tyler, you tell me where to go. Backwards or forwards? It's your choice.
That's where the recap, because it's literally leading straight in.
Yeah. Such a bizarre console set up, this one.
Yeah. I don't know if you've noticed this, but you know the roundels on the back of the TARDIS?
Yeah.
So if you look carefully, you'll see that the roundels, the actual indentations, are the top of the Fifth Doctor's TARDIS.
Are they?
Yeah.
You're so impressive.
I am so impressed.
You wish.
Right then, you are so right. Exactly where to go.
Yeah, the recesses are the hexagon shapes are the top of the Fifth Doctor's 25th anniversary TARDIS console. Just sort of smaller versions.
Well,
Take a look.
I'll cut that up.
There's been a little bit of a character change already between Christopher Eccleston from the first episode to this one, whereby he's starting to have fun again. The Doctor's starting to have fun again. He's doing a bit of showing off. You know, this is him having a little bit of a. So, as I understand this, the special effects here for this particular episode at this point was done by one person on a Macintosh computer.
I also read earlier when I was having a quick look at the stuff about this episode that this episode took up most of the SFX budget for this series.
Yes. Yeah, they threw everything at it just to make it as impressive as they could for the second episode, really. It's like what they say, you know, when somebody has a breakthrough record, it's always the second record that's the hardest to sell.
Yeah. You know, at the end of this, we're going to be going, oh, Christopher Eccleston, if only he'd done more snippets.
Well, that's the tough thing, you see, isn't it? Because You lose Christopher Eccleston, but you gain David Tennant. So what do you do with that?
Well, you have 3 years of Christopher Eccleston and David Tennant turns up anyway.
but that's the thing. See, would you have necessarily, because David Tennant might be doing other things.
Make him fight.
It is a shame, like, but. I've spent my time redesigning and designing a space station, so I know coming up with a nice design for a space station is not the easiest. This works really well, though.
I mean, this is when we realised in 2005, oh, they've spent some money on Doctor Who.
Oh, yes. Some of the places where they shoot here is actually a church in Cardiff.
All right.
I think it's called the Temple of Peace, I think it's called. I think it's the large chamber, really, where you meet the Moxelbound. This is it. This is part of the church. I think this gets redressed later on. So yeah, it's good use of locations.
It's the same as ever. I thought the continent shifted.
They did, and the trust shifted them back. That's a classic Earth. But now the bodies run out, nature takes over.
How long's it gone?
Half an hour, and the planet gets busted.
Is that why we're here? I mean, is that what you do? Jump in at the last minute and save the Earth?
I'm not saving it. Time's up.
But what about the people?
It's empty. You've all gone. All left.
Just me then.
Who the hell are you? Oh, that's nice. Thanks. How are you living?
I actually like the curator here. I like him as a character.
They're all like, wait, any second now. We haven't yet. Look, got an invitation. Look, thanks. See, it's fine. See, the doctor +1. I'm the doctor. This girl's Thailand. She's got +1. Is that right? Apologies. If you're on board, let us start. The paper's slightly sided. Shows them whatever I want.
Is that the first time they'd used the spicy paper since Patrick Troughton? Then they used it a lot.
Yeah, psychic paper.
All staff to their position.
These are a bit like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, there is a touch of Follow the Yellow Brick Road there, isn't there?
It's yeah. See, something that Doctor Who doesn't do very well at all is to make its own universe inclusive. So to have the Forest of Cheam show back up again is something that's not likely to happen. You know, the Moxel Balhoun or his species haven't re-emerged. These have just been one-off characters, and Doctor Who's not very good at making his own universe inclusive. Like, villains will show back up again, but yeah, you just know he slept with her.
Captain Jack. Spoilers.
I mean, they are very typically, you know, they are stereotypical bad guys there.
Yeah.
But it serves the plot because you know. I mean, if anybody's watching this and they know what's coming later, you know that there's a reason why they're stereotypically bad guys.
I know.
I've had chin, look.
I mean, again, this was one of those stories that was like, about what happens with too much plastic surgery. You know?
Truly, I am.
That really is too much plastic surgery.
My father was my mother.
But again, he was doing it to an absurd degree that it's just. But what a memorable character of Cassandra, like, is.
I have come to honor you and goodbye. But behold, I bring gifts from Earth itself, the last remaining hostage. Legend says it had a wingspan of 50 feet and blew fire from its nostrils. Who knows?
All these, if you look like all the background where all these characters are filling the scenery, all these really interesting designs, and they never do anything with them.
You ready to turn your volume down a bit?
Oh,
You don't want a copyright strike.
yeah. Here we go with a bit of Britney Spears. There's no nice Tainted Love, isn't there? Britney Spears comes in later.
Yeah.
Yeah, bopping away to Tainted Love. Yeah. But like I said, look at all these characters. They never used any of them. They never went to any of their homeworlds. They never showed back up again. And it's a shame like that. It's only the villains that get brought back.
I mean, how many times did the face the foe turned up? Was it 3 times?
Yeah. He shows back up briefly.
Yeah, and Cassandra is in one more episode, isn't she? And that's it.
Yes, but again, a villain. It's a recurring villain. But you don't get like other characters coming back, like not just characters, but other planets. Like I said, you could do an episode set on the Forest of Cheam. I love the technology with it. I love how. I love the fact that it's got like very organic and bird sounds to the pad that she's using. It's a very organic shape as well.
Yeah. Oh, red shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, am I allowed to be here? You have to give us permission to talk.
Again, a good creature. Good, simple creature design.
You have permission? Thank you. No, you're not in the way. Guests are allowed anyway.
But I would be okay with something like that being a companion.
Yeah.
What's your name?
You don't have to be on Earth.
I won't be long. Just got to carry out some maintenance. There's a tiny little glitch in the face of Bo's suit. There must be something blocking the system. He's not getting any hot water. So you're a plumber? That's how it is. You still have plumbers? I hope so. That's a lovely job. Where are you from?
It's a nice little thing that people don't really think about.
That's a plan.
You normally see like a sci-fi show with engineers and things like that, but you don't really see plumbers.
Related to the Scarlet Judge. Where are you from, miss? If you don't mind me asking. No. I don't know. Long way away. I just sort of hitched a leg with this man. Didn't even think about it. Didn't even know who he is. It's a complete stranger.
Yeah, it's all starting to hit home a little bit now.
Anyway, don't let me keep you. Good luck with it. Thank you, miss. Hello. Thank you for the permission. Not many people are that considerate. Okay. See you later.
See, so they're doing some simple things here as well to cover up the fact that they are limited with what they got. I mean, you notice that they've been using the temple as part of the location, but now they've built a piece of the set, and to mask the set now, they've just put a black cloth behind her.
Yeah.
But you if you're not looking at what's happening behind her, then you don't take it in, like, you don't really notice it. I'm not sure the effects for this, for those walkers. I remember seeing it at the time and thinking, wow, they've stepped up the game. They hold up okay. They're not awful. I've seen worse. I've seen green rubber frogs.
I mean, yeah, we've also got to bear in mind, I can't believe he's 15 years old now, almost today.
Yeah. The brand new Who is old. If this was classic Who, you'd now be at Peter Davison, I think. 63, 73, 73, 78. You'd be Tom Baker, end of Tom Baker's run.
Yeah. About the middle of it, I suppose.
Well, so you'd be at 78, wouldn't you?
Yeah. When did he finish? 81, wasn't it?
81, yeah. He's already done 4 years. He's on year 5. So.
I remember when they announced Billy Piper, I was like, oh no. But much like she turned out to be a really good companion.
Yeah, so we haven't really talked about Billy Piper here because, for those who really don't know, Billy Piper was a teeny pop star that came on the scene for a bit, married Chris Evans. They had a hell of a relationship. They're still friends as far as I know. Ups and downs. But then she decided to do Doctor Who as a bit of a change. She didn't really know what she was getting into.
Do you know why she did Doctor Who?
I have no idea.
Because she wanted to.
Oh, God, yes.
Sorry.
Well, you keep playing your music solo because we want to. Because we want to.
I don't know that well.
I do.
Look at my t-shirt. I listen to classics. She turned out to be a really good actress.
At the time when Billy Piper was becoming really famous with a pop career, I was working in a place called SPS and it was on the radio all the time. So. See, he's had his lighter period. He's dropping now back into his darker period, but she's not letting him run away. Yeah, see, he can't escape. There's nowhere for him to escape. He's stuck in that room with her. If you could have gone out that door, it'd be a very different thing.
As my late string says, don't argue with the designated driver.
See, she's disarming him already.
Taxi. We're at range.
Yeah, okay, first thing you need to talk to what about you?
It's a call back to Pertwee, isn't it?
Yeah. There's no way in hell her phone rebooted that quick. I don't care how good he is.
Timey-wimey, wibbly wobbly.
That's what phone is it? It's not a 3310, is it?
What have I done now?
of that line, isn't it? It's one of the 3210 or something like that.
Yeah. Those things were bloody indestructible. They still work now.
Yeah, I know.
Just a bit. Literally. Have you tried to figure out what Jackie's actually watching on TV there? I can never get it.
She's dead now. 5 billion years later, I'm on the stage.
I'd have to go back and pause it and look and try and work that out.
Yeah. See, not all the effects work. That one's, but it's a quick one. It's on screen for a little bit and then it's off. So. I love him. I love him. For such a limited, short character in the show, he does this guy's acting his ass off.
Yeah. Yeah, he's giving it his best.
Oh, he's doing a fantastic job. Fantastic. That's a design flaw.
That is very much a design flaw.
You should never have. You should never have a button that does that.
No.
Or if you should, it should be in a big glass case under a big piece of block and a good, just big thick glass.
Or at least Control Alt Delete.
Yeah, not just the one button press. Great makeup as well, by the way.
Yeah,
I'm really talking about the makeup and the costume.
It must be invisible, do you mind?
But there's no judgment on her. With the prostitute, there's no judgment. Like concubine, prostitute. What are you?
And want you home by
I mean, this could probably use a bit of a special edition whereby they sort of redo the effects, but it's not doing bad for considering.
Yeah, I think it's all right, really. For 15 years is a long time.
Now this bit here, where they walk it through here, this is actually under BBC Culverhouse Cross.
Is it?
Yeah, this is downstairs in the BBC basement. Yeah, this is literally going from one studio to the other underneath.
That's the one thing that's always got me about a lot of the BBC science fiction programs, Doctor Who, Red Dwarf, and that is a lot of the ships and space stations seem to be made of concrete internally.
I know. Yeah, they do that. But I mean, again, this is why it bugs me with New Who, whereby they can knock something like this out. They can convey a space station just by filming in the basement, and the new one has to go to bloody Cape Town.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Can you not see the difference here? They managed to get this episode out in the same amount of time, in fact, quicker time, and it still works really, really well.
I am the last pure. The other is
Right.
I think the effects of the veins.
I kept myself pure.
How many operations were you at?
708 next week. It's 700 on mine. But you want to do it. You could get lucky. Got a little bit of a check.
I'd rather die.
Honestly, it doesn't hurt.
I mean it. I would rather die. Better to die than live like you were bitchy trampling. I was born on that planet. So was my mum. And
Well, do you know, this is one thing that people overlook with the character of Cassandra, is the fact that she was able to absorb that abuse that Rose just gave, because she's done worse to herself. You know, when Cassandra looks in the mirror, when she says, "Oh, bitchy trampoline," well, yeah, but like Cassandra's done worse, sees herself worse than that. And it's one of those things that's just dismissed and overlooked, but it speaks volumes about the character, like.
Yeah.
So now they've just turned around and they're walking back the other way.
All the same, we respect the Earth's family. So many species evolved from that planet. Mankind is only one, and another. My ancestors were transplanted from the planet down below. And I'm a direct descendant of the tropical rain.
But wonderful makeup, good costume as well. Works well, the colour scheme works well.
What about your ancestry? Perhaps you could tell a story or two.
Simple things that they've done with the characters on the screen as well. Some of them are just reversed, like the one.
The little machine controlled by the species refused to admit your existence. Even when it named you,
Famous shot.
I know where you're from. Forgive me for intruding. It's remarkable that you exist. I just want to say how sorry I am.
I mean, it's just Christopher Eccleston just reacting. That entire scene.
Yeah.
Just relying on Christopher Eccleston just taking it all in.
Another first time Doctor shed a tear, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Is it me or is it a bit?
But again, the shift in the tone for the character. The character it started this like healing process. Mm-hmm.
Well, I wouldn't have had them down as baddies.
No, nothing about them was suspicious.
What the hell's that? Did you pass it with flesh? Don't think so. Hold on. Hey, nicely armored.
Lots of it's shown me.
Don't worry, I won't tell anyone. Now then, bringing the pets on board.
What does it do?
Sights out. The temperature's about to rocket. Come on.
The planet's end.
But I mean, they make very good use of location in the earlier series of Doctor Who.
Civilization.
Because again, they don't have the budget. They don't have. It has no reputation to speak of. I daren't say they spent some money on this for that. It is quite a nice design for space station. As far as space station designs go. Yeah, that's just cooked.
Well, I'm not a fan of Britney Spears by any stretch of the imagination, but that piece of music does work well with this.
It really does. They make a lot of good choices. This is obviously studio, and this is studio being made to match the temple. It's not bad. It does a good job of replicating it. It's not awful. I mean, you can see which parts of the temple just because the temple's a little bit more polished. Yeah, I bet that's one. Should be a bit more smoke in that room, I think, but I'm not going to complain. Damn straight it is. It's pretty well lit yet.
The metal machine confirms. The spider devices have infiltrated the whole platform.
How's that possible? My private rooms are protected by a code wall. Moisturize me. Someone can do it.
Do it is toast. And again, for the limited time that he was on screen, he was just acting his ass off.
Doing the scenery as they say.
Talk to the face, I like it.
Shaku. That's all very well, but really kind of obvious. So like, stop and think about it. You're repeating me. It's just an idea. And that's all they are. An idea.
Yeah.
Nice little call for the real troublemaker. Come on, Jim Dog. Come on.
I bet you the screw squad never got kissed.
Moisturize.
With acid. Too late anyway. My spiders have controlled the main way. All paragon is tax-free past every code wall. I'm not just a medic.
Sabotaging a ship while you're still inside it. How stupid's that?
I hope to manufacture a hostage situation with myself as one of the victims. Compensation.
Again, it's just drawing on very modern themes.
Yeah.
Flatness costs a fortune. I am the last to love. Me. Freaky kid of yours. A wrestler. Infidel. Shut up, Pixie. I still got my final option. And here
I love the team armor, that body armor that they're wearing.
Yeah.
It looks. It's a shame they don't come back.
And you're burning with us. Oh, I'm so sorry. I know the use of teleportation is strictly forbidden, but such a naughty thing. Spiders, activate.
Boom. Again, even when it's a little bit ropey, the CG, it's not on screen for a long time.
Bye-bye, darling. Bye-bye.
Only that Stuart would know how. We can do it by hand. There must be a system resource. Jake, come on. You know this.
Yeah, all the costumes look great. The makeup's good.
Shot for the CG. Where it spins around the station in front of the sun.
I mean, like there's, well, with the design of the space station, there's a lot of cloned elements.
Yeah.
So, this clone copy, but it's still. I mean, you've got to remember there's very little time. Not many people working on it. It's just one of those things whereby they made do with what they had, and that's more than enough.
You can't. The heat's going to melt through this place. Jake, you're my only one.
Then stop wasting time. Time will tell
Yeah. Not going well, is it?
No. It does make you wonder why somebody would put a walkway that close to the fans. Like, couldn't you have dropped the walkway like another 10 feet? Just to make things easier on everyone.
Yeah, we would have cut the suspense out a bit, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Something smells like a bonfire.
She's just giving her life for the doctor. Don't give her any stick. Here you go. This is one of those other moments that adds mystery to the Doctor. Honestly. So lucky.
Yeah. Nothing left in the Moxie balloon. It's a shame. They should have had somebody in front of that because you could see where there was a pipe sticking through, pumping the smoke out. And yeah, they should have had somebody block that.
That might have been his toilet pipe. Got to use your imagination and fill in the blank.
No, let's not fill that in. But those costumes are beautiful.
Full of ideas. I'm bristled. Idea number 1, teleportation through 5,000.
Not keen on the Munchkins.
Idea number 2, this speed must be hidden nearby.
in reverse. The last human.
So, how's my little test program? This makes you eligible to join the human club.
People have died, Cassandra. You murdered them.
Depends on the definition of people. And that's enough of a technicality to keep your words dizzy for centuries.
Yeah, so the defensive lawyers.
Watch me smile and crawl.
Creak. Creak. You're creaking.
I think you can only just see it, but her eyes have just gone bloodshot.
Yeah.
Moisturize me. I love it, boys. It's too hot.
Raising temperature.
Moisturize me.
Nope.
Everything has its time. Everything does.
Yeah, that's not pleasant.
Shalka's 4 and 6 departing. It seemed that we were closing down for meetings.
I think it could use a bit of a remaster with the visuals, just a touch up. But it's holding up very, very well.
We're too busy saving ourselves.
I mean, yeah, if you put it up against some of the stuff that was created in the 70s, then it's fine.
Well, that history, no one's
Oh yeah, you couldn't put it against like Robot or something like that. No, it's all Carnival of Monsters or something like
Robot on his little wrists.
that. They're just so thin. Oh dear. Good story though. Good story.
You think it'll last forever? People, cars,
Again, they're using I think that this is shot with I think this is
the sky.
I want to say I want to say it's something like a 100mm lens, because it's from quite a distance, but you don't lose this is 50mm, but the separation between them and the background, you can't tell that it's Queen Street.
There was a war we lost.
And one thing you'll notice about this series in particular as well is there's a lot of under reflecting. You can kind of see it in his eyes. You can see the card on the sort of down there,
Yeah.
and something that they don't do that much of later on.
You see how dangerous it is. You want to go home?
If I'm right, I think it's actually only for sort of scenes like this, whereby she's supposed to be like in a place of comfort, so that there's a lot of light.
Yeah. Me too.
Right then, we might be back in that box chips it is and you can go.
Normally.
Yeah. Come on then, Taiwan, chips drum ring. I've got 5 for leaving years till the shop's closed.
And that's the end of the world.
That's the end.
There we go. And we don't need the rest of that. So I'm gonna exit this. So after that is one of my favourites, which is The Unquiet Dead. So I think we're going to crack on with that next week. So anyway, now that you've seen The End of the World again, thoughts overall?
Yeah, it's a good story. I think the effects hold up all right. I think the bit where she phoned her mum up, I know we saw a little bit of that in the episode Rose, but that was kind of like the beginning of the whole chucking in the family soap opera type stuff in it. I know we had a little bit of that in Scream of the Shalka we watched earlier with setting up the character, and it's good to set up the character, but I think they revisit it a bit too much. I mean, this is another. I'm just looking at the list of episodes on there. It's another very Earth-centric series. Yes.
So I mean, I think that scene is kind of necessary though, because I think in terms they don't. I'm not sure that it has to be, in particular in this episode, but they're trying to set up how important her relationship with her mother is, because he's setting up for Father's Day.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'll give him that.
So I think that you do kind of need it there to show that it is just her and Jackie, and for me, like I enjoyed the episode for what it is. It's a bit of silly fun.
Yeah.
It's got some wacky, and I mean wacky, outrageous sci-fi elements in it that you just. For example, the one button for the sunscreen to descend is just no, please no. And the fact that the switch is on the end of that corridor, which happens to have these blades that are spinning around, which are just scraping the walkway. I mean, these are. Do you remember Galaxy Quest?
Yeah.
Remember that scene where they go through the ship and it's like they got to go through the chompers and Sigourney Weaver's like, who the hell designed this? Yeah, that's exactly what this is. That's what this episode is. So it's goofy and it's not the best. It's not the best story for Doctor Who, but it's a lot of fun, and it takes advantage of the fact that. They can shoot on location. They're taking a lot of again. The times whereby they actually got the background is literally a black cloth. Yeah. But they got this thing made and got it out. Like at the end, there was them standing on Queen Street, but they shot with 100mm and 50mm lenses, just so that it wasn't in focus. The focus was on the characters and not on the background. The setting, we knew she was home. You didn't need to know where she was. I knew where she was, but that's because I know the place. But at the same time, it was out of focus, and because they were centric to what was going on, and so they were again taking advantage of location shooting, which is what pisses me off more than anything else with the new one, because like a lot of the new one, don't get me wrong, a lot of the new one is shot around Cardiff, right? A lot of the new one, what they claim to be Sheffield, it's nothing of the kind. The block of flats that Yaz lives on is a college. It's the hill that Ryan is on, where he throws the bike and all that, which is overlooking Sheffield, is above Nantgarw, above what was the Doctor Who studios. It's opposite Castle Cork. So and what you can see in the background isn't Sheffield. It's literally Nantgarw up a boat, Treforest, and then in the distance Cardiff. So there's a lot of that going on. But here's a really good example whereby they had to have a space station corridor, and so they just used the basement of the BBC. You know, there are other times whereby you'll see it, like in the episode Dalek. Most of the episode Dalek was shot in Principality Stadium. Most of what you see in Dalek is just downstairs in Principality Stadium. And the same goes for Stormcage. Stormcage is Principality Stadium, where River Song is held. So they don't build these sets. These are just literally, they build set elements and then just go on location and go, right, we'll set that up there. There's no, I think that there's, I don't think there's as, these obviously don't look as glossy as the new ones. They don't look as polished as the new ones. They don't look as cinematic as the new ones. But they could spit out a 13-episode season of Doctor Who every year on the dot. And good stories. And given what we just saw with Scream of the Shalka and now this, God, it makes you literally. I don't know if you saw me, but there was a point in this whereby she said to him, go on then, Time Lord, and she pulls the, she's holding on to the handles, and I'm just like, oh God, because all of this now, and you know what I'm going to talk about here, all of this has just been absolutely damaged by what happened in the last episode.
No, I'm not accepting it. I refuse to acknowledge it.
I know. Look, I totally understand where you're coming from. But you can see, like, this, an episode like this is why Doctor Who fans get so angry. Because this threw in these new extra abilities that he's got, whereby he can just close his eyes and concentrate and just he's a Time Lord. He's got this extra, but it's just where this ability comes from is just a mystery. It's not, oh, by the way, he's special. I mean, he is special because he's a Time Lord. But oh God, I am with you. I don't want to accept that bullshit that they spewed out in the last one. So I can understand why so much of the fandom is just in pieces. I don't know what they call it, like the Jodie bots. I don't blame Jodie. She doesn't know what she's in for. She doesn't know what she's into. I will say, I'll say this. So I want to talk briefly about Jodie for a second. She come in for a lot of stick recently about. I don't know if you saw the short video that she did.
No,
she did a short video because of what's going on with COVID-19. She did a short video, like sort of telling people to stay indoors and all this. But she did it in the character of the Doctor. She had a Doctor Who coat on, and she was doing it sort of pretending to be sort of on the run from the Sontarans. And a lot of people have given her a lot of flack for it. And I think some people just need to get off her back because she's just doing her job. And she done it. Not only that, but like she done this off her own thing. She didn't have to do it. Nobody told her to do it. Nobody was paying her to do it. She just wanted to tell everybody to sort of stay safe, And I think there are a lot of people now just hating on her for the sake of hating on her. And I think Colin Bacon could probably relate to what she's going through. I don't know how plugged in Jodie is to. I would say she's not that plugged into the fandom.
Well, I mean, Colin, when she first took over being Doctor,
mm-hmm.
I know Colin Baker and Peter Davison had a little bit of a spat, didn't they? Because of Colin Baker championing her, saying it's about this, and Peter Davison was saying, well, this was a boy's hero that they've now removed,
Yeah.
and they had a bit of a spat. So Colin Baker has always been one of her biggest. He's cheered her on for taking the part on and going with it. And yeah. You're absolutely right. It's not Jodie Whittaker's fault at all. When you start blaming actors when you see that they're the executive producer and they're the script writer and they've done the editing. That's when you start blaming the actors. When they're just performing a role and the only credit on the list at the end says the doctor, Jodie Whittaker, that's it. She's just it's not her fault at all. And yeah, people should leave her alone. There's no need for it. I thought the last episode and what they done was stupid and rubbish. And I'm hoping that they retroactively sort it out and it's a master plan. That's what I'm hoping happens. Do I hold Jodie Whittaker responsible? No. In the same way, I don't hold Bradley Walsh responsible, or Tosin Cole, or Mendit Gill. None of them. They're just
exactly. Yeah, exactly. If these stories are really that bad, why? And they are. Some of them are. Let's be honest. But why then is Jodie taking the brunt of it when she's not the producer? She's not the writer. She's not the director. She's just doing a damn job. And I'd like, I know people have said before about her acting style with this, and some people just don't like it. Fine, that's fair enough. But at the same time, there are people that are writing this show. She has no clue what she's doing, right? And let's be honest here, right? She has no clue what she's doing. She's kept distant from it, and every decision the BBC have made have been the wrong decision. Let's be honest about this. The BBC have made wrong decisions. Not her, but the BBC, because they've kept them away from conventions, they've kept them away from fans, they've kept them away from fan interactions, they've kept them away from events. The only time that they've addressed people is when they've had to do interviews, or when they've gone over to promote it on BBC America, or they've had to promote the show for. They missed Comic-Con this year, and people are like, "Oh, they skipped Comic-Con because they were busy filming." Bullshit. They missed Comic-Con because they knew that people were going to stand there in front of a microphone and say, "What do you think of this?" And they won't have a clue because Jodie doesn't watch the show. She didn't grow up with it watching the show. She's not a fan of it. I think she's gone back and watched the odd few episodes, but she really doesn't know that much. Bradley Walsh is clueless. Bradley Walsh has been in Doctor Who several times now, and he still doesn't know where he's at. And he generally doesn't. I mean, I don't know if you saw it recently, whereby Ant and Dec had him on Saturday Night Takeaway and had him. They pranked him when he was doing the chase.
I don't watch normal telly anymore.
No, I saw it on YouTube. There was a link to it on YouTube. They literally had him last week, and boy, did they nail him. That's worth a watch. It's only like 15 minutes long. It's worth a watch. But anyway, my general point here is the fact that we're starting a new Doctor Who with Christopher Eccleston. And Christopher Eccleston is coming into this with exactly the same thing as Jodie. He wasn't a fan of the show. He knew of it, but he wasn't a fan of it. And in the same way, Jodie Whittaker knew of it, but is not a fan of it. Now, the big difference here is the fact that the people who've got directed it aren't anything other than Doctor Who directors. They're people that had directed previous Doctor Who's in the classic series. The writers, Russell T Davies, is a massive Doctor Who fan, and probably the perfect person to make the leap in. So he's being guided by people who know, and then he's gone back and done a bit of research into it as well. So, it's at this point whereby they're starting to butt heads. Christopher Eccleston starting to butt heads with the writers and producers at this point now, because he's got his own ideas of what the Doctor should be. And Russell T Davies and the BBC are now starting to say, no, we'll work on that, but we want to do this instead. And it's really, only really Chris and Russell know exactly what the hell went on. We know for a fact that the BBC behaved disgracefully.
Yeah.
I mean, they stopped the guy from being able to get work. That's horrendous. And the guy was already going through some stuff with this as well. And he's noted, This is how open Christopher Eccleston has become now. He's doing a lot of fan events. He's doing a lot of Comic Cons and things like that. And he's talking openly and frankly about what was going on with him during this time. And he was going through quite a bit. And but yeah, I mean, as the second episode of Doctor Who, kooky, a bit aloof. It's very tongue in cheek. Again, the catastrophes that go on are a little bit. I mean, they're not even a little bit. They fall on cheese. But it's enjoyable. It's enjoyable. I don't know if you've got anything you'd like to add to.
Well, I'll add to what you were saying about Jodie Whittaker getting flack before we completely forget about that. And the main reason is because she's the star, she's the face of the show. And there's a lot of people that you would expect to be more intelligent if they watch a lot of Doctor Who, that you have to separate the two, and they don't seem to be able to. So they're just, because she's the face, it's like, well, it's her fault, and they're just unnecessarily blaming someone else. That is, to answer what you were saying.
Yeah, well, I want to draw this point up as well. Peter Capaldi didn't get this flack. And Peter Capaldi had some stinkers.
Yeah.
And he never had this flack. Peter Capaldi is still loved by a lot of Doctor Who fans. And a lot of people think that Peter Capaldi is the best Doctor that we've had for a long time. And he had some absolute stinking episodes that were just frustratingly bad. I won't get into that part of it, but people knew that it's it's Stephen Moffat's the writer. Stephen Moffat's the head writer of the show, and it's his responsibility. Peter Capaldi never come in for the flack. Now you've got Chris Chibnall and Jodie, and I think what's happened here generally is that the two are associated. The two were friends before. Yeah. Chris Chibnall come into Doctor Who and brought his friend Jodie. That's what I think is generally happened, is that people seem to think that the two of them are conspiring together. And for me, I can't get on board with that at all. I think Jodie Whittaker is showing up for work, getting a paycheck, doing a job. And it's up to the writers, it's up to the producers, it's up to the directors to make sure that person is acting and doing the job that they wanted to do. If it's not sitting well with the fans, that's because they're probably not listening to the fans. There's nothing to do with the cast. If you're going to blame the cast, you're going to blame the catering.
Yeah.
If you're going to blame you may as well. You may as well, because the people in Rothlock canteen are responsible for making sure that these actors are well fed to go on and do the show. Not just the actors, but the carpenters, the set painters, the set decorators, all these people, the Foley, the sound, all these people make this show. It's not just Jodie. So if this show is bad, blaming her is recklessly irresponsible and stupid. But the fact is that what's going on here, what we've just seen, like I said, this episode of Doctor Who, I don't know. Here's a question for you. If you swapped Christopher Eccleston there for Jodie Whittaker, exactly the same story, exactly the same setup, exactly the same scene, do you think the fans would still be complaining?
Yeah, I think a lot of them would.
That's my point.
A lot of them would. I mean, I've said to you before that I'm not over keen on when they race and sex change characters, because that's just my preference. But I was willing to give Jodie a chance, and I don't think she's awful.
No,
not in the slightest. She's working with what she's given. But I do think there is a lot of a lot of the Doctor Who fans that it seems. I mean, obviously, I don't know for sure. It seems that they could quite possibly be a little bit sexist.
I don't know what. Maybe they are, but I think maybe that I've noticed a lot, and I mean a lot, particularly with watching something like Picard, that I don't know what the hell the fans are expecting to get out of sci-fi. I don't know what sort of storytelling they're expecting to get, given what we've just watched, which was a very tongue-in-cheek British sci-fi with plenty of cheese. Again, some of the scenarios were absolute nonsense scenarios, whereby the sunscreen should never be able to do that to begin with, regardless of it just being one button on a keyboard. Or those blades spinning around. I mean, the nonsense scenarios. It's almost bad, but because it's done with a level of levity and a treatment of camp, I suppose, it's acceptable, and people accept this story. But then you take an episode then with Jodie and swap this around, swap the things, and you got something like let's think of a good comparison episode. Kablam, with the pauper paper that killed people. It's a ridiculous scenario, and yet that's terrible, and this is good. Like, there seems to be a bit of hypocrisy going on. You know, I get that, you know, sometimes they can do something whereby the character will say something that is contradictory to behavior. I totally get that. I completely get that. Given that as well, we watched Scream of the Shalka earlier, which nailed the character of the Doctor, smack on the button, and done it in 6 short episodes. So I understand that, but when you've got these, like, I didn't like the episode with the Pating. I can't remember what that's called.
The Suranaga conundrum or something, wasn't it?
Oh, Suranga conundrum, yes, yeah. I didn't like that as I didn't think it was a good solid episode, but that's because it had ridiculous things in it, and they were expecting you to buy ridiculous things. Whereas this had cheesy things in it, and you know, the characterization of the Force Achievement, Jade and her 2 lackeys, or the repeated meme, or the Moxel Balhoun, or all the other characters in this were weird, and they were cheesy as hell. You know, particularly the bird ones. But with the Bating, they were pointing out scenarios. They didn't, in this episode, they never stayed with these characters. You know, they weren't making this character a thing. You know, Jade is probably the most prominent of the characters. You don't know where these blue people came from. There are lots of these blue munchkins running around, which again I didn't like. I told you that when we were watching it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not my. It was very too much, as I said. You know, Wizard of Oz and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. The Oompa Loompas going around. Not keen on it.
You're putting it that way, then I would say if you was to remove Chris Eccleston and put Jodie Whittaker in, but with Euros Lynn, I don't have to actually pronounce that name because I don't speak Welsh, sorry. With him directing and Russell T Davies doing it, then it probably would have worked the same as a story, because it didn't have that little signpost, you know, and stuff like that in it. So perhaps it would have worked well. I could see Jodie doing that, because she'd have different direction and different script pointers and that, and she wouldn't have what she's getting in the current or the most recent series. So yeah, maybe it very well would work. There would be a lot of people complaining because she's female, which is, well, it's retarded, isn't it? But
totally retarded.
Yeah, so yeah, maybe it would work. Maybe it's I was giving it too much thought before because I was thinking using that story with the current setup. No, if you took Jodie out and put her in a Russell T Davies story that was directed by, the team he had, Graham Harper, the Lynn fellow, and with Russell T Davies behind it, then it probably would have been. It definitely. Who's the other bloke? Was it Phil Collinson?
Yes.
With that team behind it, then will you oil that chair? It probably would have worked and probably would have been better.
But I think I just want to clarify this as well. I think if you were to take Christopher Eccleston out and put him in a Jodie Whittaker episode, you'd still be stuck with the same level of dictatorship as opposed to storytelling that you've got now. So the fact that they're blaming Jodie for what's going on as well is ridiculous, because again, if you took however good a performance Christopher Eccleston, like bear in mind, like the best moment in Christopher Eccleston's episode here was one where he said nothing at all.
Yeah.
He was just reacting to what Jade was saying. So yes, you can take a stellar performance and you could put that into, but if you were to put Christopher Eccleston into Saranga Conundrum, you've still got pregnant ginger bloke. You've still got those two, your pilot in the ship or whatever. You've still got that stupid bloody thing going around eating everything. There's no.
Although to be fair to Christopher Eccleston, that was series 1. By the end of that series, he would have said, "This is bollocks. I'm off," and there would have been another regeneration.
Yeah. But again, he had his own ideas, and that's perhaps. Do you know? Perhaps we might have ended up with a different sort of Doctor Who series if he'd stuck around.
Interesting to hear exactly what his ideas were.
But again, here's the thing. Obviously, there was a clash going on, and we ended up with. And I remember, like the day that Doctor Who aired, they announced that he was leaving.
Yeah.
The first episode, and I remember it. And this is probably difficult, really, because he couldn't really say anything, and the stupid sods, and this is the BBC, made him go on the Jonathan Ross show. I don't know if you remember this, but he was on, and at the time Jonathan Ross was still airing on BBC One, and Jonathan Ross was trying to ask him questions, and in particular, it had already been announced that he was quitting. And of course, Jonathan Ross wanted to ask him, why? And it made Christopher Eccleston look bad because he couldn't really say why, because of what was going on. He couldn't besmirch the show. He couldn't talk shit about what was going on. He couldn't talk shit about the head of the show because he's under contract. And so what you ended up with the scenario was that you can understand why Christopher Eccleston was so bitter following this fallout. And I mean, it's a horrible scenario, and I'm just glad that he's doing a lot better now.
Yeah, I mean, you can fully understand why he did a Colin Baker when they said, "Do you want to come back and do this for the regeneration?" He went because I would have done as well.
Yeah, I mean, like it's a different team there now, a massively different team. Would he come back? Here's my problem. I would love to see Christopher Eccleston come back, just not right now.
No, not at all now. Or at least come back to rewrite what's just been sodded up.
I don't know. Like I can't. Well, we've already covered this for Series 12, and I don't want to get stuck on it, right? But my opinion of Doctor Who right now is I'll have to wait and see if I'm going to watch the next series. Because I can watch this, because it, as again, I don't want to rip on this episode too much, but as cheesy as this episode was, it's still done character building for Rose.
Yep.
It's still done character development for her relationship with the Doctor. It's still done, like I said, when they were in the room together with the sun, looking out the window at the planet, Rose is laying into him about who the hell are you? And he has nowhere to go. He can't escape the room. He's stuck in there with her, and it forces him and her to have this little moment whereby she goes, well, never argue with the designated driver, and gives him a bit of a nudge. And that's to let him know,
I'll tell you what, I remember.
cheer up.
I remember the first time I saw that episode, and I was when Rose started laying into him, I was like, it's the ghost of Tegan.
Yeah.
No one had ever ripped into the Doctor like Tegan did.
No. Man, I would love Tegan to come back. I would just so love it. But I couldn't do it with the current. This is the problem. I want these current. I would love for Tegan to come back. I would love for Christopher Eccleston to make an appearance. I would love Captain Jack to come back and be a companion. Just not with Chris Chibnall right in it. He didn't. He hasn't. You can't find an episode that I can think of. Bear in mind, this is the guy that wrote Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, or The Power of Three, or episodes of Torchwood. He knows how to write for these characters. He's just not very good at it.
Well, do you think it could be a case of it's mine now? I'll do what I like.
Well, this is my big problem with it, is because he thinks it's his show, and it's not his show. He's working on the show, but it's not his. And I think there's a little bit of him. Again, I said this last week. I think there's a bit of this. He is right into his own 10-year-old self.
Yeah.
And it's all the things that he thought of when he was a 10-year-old kid. What he wrote into his own head canon, he is making canon. So when he thought, I know who the Doctor is. The Doctor is the progenitor of the Time Lords. Well, now Chris has written that into canon, and you can't do that. You can't dick around. Lots of people have tried to. Lots of people approached the law, but every single one went back the way. Chris Chibnall's the only one to actually cross that line and change it. And yeah.
Yeah, as you say, it's not his show. If anything,
it's not.
He is the caretaker for a show that was created by Verity Lambert and Waris Hussain. It's their show. It's their show. They created it. So
and again, it's the temporary caretakers. That's all you are. The temporary custodians of this show. Christopher Eccleston was, Russell T Davies, Stephen Moffat, John Nathan Turner was. And I think even John Nathan Turner, as outrageous and as lunatic as that man was with his run for Doctor Who, bear in mind, the guy, this is the scenario John Nathan Turner was in, they wouldn't let him quit.
Yeah, I know.
Like, he tried to quit Doctor Who because he wanted to do like Coronation Street or EastEnders or something like that. And they wouldn't let him quit. So he's stuck making a show that he doesn't want to make. He'd done everything that he wanted to do, and he wanted to pass it on and let somebody else take over. And so he ended up bringing in people and running it the best he could, and then he brought in like Andrew Cartmel and other writers. But now we've got a Doctor Who writer. And I don't know where the line is here, right? I genuinely don't. Because I would say that it's as much the BBC's fault as it is anybody else's. And I don't mean the Chris Chibnalls. I mean the people, the execs, all the Piers Wenger, all the deputy director of the BBC, deputy director for BBC Wales, the director for BBC Central, the director for BBC Drama. All these people that got their finger in the pie are all responsible. Because when this episode happened, the episode that we just watched, when this happened, they did not give a shit for Doctor Who. This was the second episode of The Gate. Russell T Davies and Julie Garner, they could have made whatever they wanted. Series 1 of Doctor Who, they could make any story they liked. You're going to make Doctor Who and you're set in Cardiff. Oh, we don't care. We don't care. We're going to make a story about Daleks. We're going to make a story about Slitheen. We're going to do the Autons. We're going to do all this stuff. We're going to bring all these things back. We don't care. Not one bit. Series 1 happens. Within the first episode, it's the biggest thing on BBC One. All of a sudden, after Series 1, oh, you can't do this now. Because we're producing merchandise. There are Doctor Who money boxes. There's Doctor Who figures that we're making. There's play sets. There's T-shirts. There's all this stuff coming out, and these people are now saying, "Oh, what do you mean it's got 10 million views?" And then you like, it's the #1 show on a Saturday night for 13 weeks.
Yeah.
And then the next series, then, these people that didn't give a shit about Doctor Who, that said you can make whatever you like, are all of a sudden saying, well, you can't have blood because that'll scare the kids. Or no, you can't make it too scary because that'll scare the kids. You can't say that because that'll be offensive. You can't do that because that's not politically correct. You can't say that. Last year you didn't give a toss. Last year we had a World War II guy kissing a bloke and you didn't care. This year, no. Oh, we've got to abide by political correctness now. No, you've stopped us from being able to fire bloody bullets and seeing somebody get shot. The preposterous nature of the BBC, and it's gotten out of control. And for the past 15 years, it's been a downward spiral. Just downward spiral. And it's been more and more about the people at the top who didn't give a shit, now want total control of the show. So when it comes to how responsible is Chris Chibnall for what's going on, I don't know how much he is writing and how much the studio is then rewriting. Because here's the thing, right? I fully blame Chris Chibnall for the Timeless Children, totally. But to be honest with you, I sitting here talking to you right now couldn't tell you how much interference the BBC had with our script.
Wouldn't it be
because studios do interfere.
Wouldn't it be interesting to cop a look at a first draft, right?
It would absolutely be. Because I genuinely, I don't know. I know the studio does interfere. I know, because they did it with Waters of Mars. It's the only time when I've ever really heard Graham Harper was talking about Waters of Mars. They'd done the original makeup. And the BBC told, they had a letter saying, no, you can't do that. It's too far, too much, too scary. Can't do it. Like, you didn't give a shit. But previously, we had zombies walking around Cardiff. You didn't care. And now you got water creatures on a planet that's dead. What are you on about? And you can't do it. You can't do that. No, it's too far. It's too much. Take it back. Do it again. Well, I mean, and they've interfered with other things in the show as well. I mean, it was Piers Wenger that cast Matt Smith and told them that they were casting Matt Smith. Stephen Moffat probably had a say, sort of like, oh, okay, let's see him audition first. But it was Piers Wenger that went, there's the next Doctor. So it wasn't even Stephen Moffat that cast him. It was the head of BBC Wales Drama. So you know for a fact, full well, like I know that P.S. Wenger had already decided there was a woman playing the Doctor before he hired Chris Chibnall. So the level that they interfere with this show, it's not all Chris Chibnall. He's taking the brunt of it because he's the face of it. Do you know what I mean? He's the head writer, and therefore he's taking the full knock. How much the BBC is interfering with what's going on, they are not being held accountable because they're invisible to us.
I tell you what, I wish the BBC had lost the rights to it, and someone like Netflix had brought it up but kept it as a British show, like they've done with some things. Because
I genuinely, I think what you need, genuinely, I think what you need. I don't think you should bring back Russell T Davies. I don't think you should get in touch with Stephen Moffat. I don't think any of that's going to help. What you need is somebody to get fired. And I don't mean somebody to get fired on the basis of you're doing the wrong job, therefore you get fired. I mean somebody to get fired because somebody's talked up back to the BBC. That somebody has said, we ain't doing that shit, keep your nose out. And then being called to a meeting and gone, we're going to have to let you go. Because then let that blow out into the public. Because it would come out. With social media everywhere, it would come out. And then the BBC would be like, shit. And that's what you need. Because then the next person then on board would be like, right then, are you going to let me do my own thing? Because you know for a fact full well that there's so much control going on right now. It's like a lot of things. You know, if you've got too many cooks in the kitchen, it just doesn't work. And I think that's genuinely what the main problem is right now. Because when they made this, this series 1, they didn't give a shit. This was filmed in a factory in Newport. Not even a studio. They didn't have a studio. It was a factory unit in Newport. And then the next series, they moved to the Upper Port Studios, which is the bottom of Power Station Hill, in Treforest. It's not far from Showcase Cinema. It's right there. And that again was a converted factory, which is now I think it's now a plastics factory. But at least they tried to, once they would move to there, they were building Roll Flock, so they were building a dedicated studio. But all of David Tennant's run, pretty much, I think, of season 2 of David Tennant's run, then on, is in Upper Boat. And so was Torchwood, and so was Sarah Jane Adventures. It was all under one roof. And none of the BBC interfered in what was happening. They did later on. And I think you can see it. I don't think it's even Stephen Moffat's writing. I think it's literally the BBC starting to interfere. Particularly when you get into Peter Capaldi's run, because there's such a difference in the storytelling that he wrote for Matt Smith to Peter Capaldi.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Stephen Moffat's history of writing, I know he's good at comedy, but he done the series me and my wife both used to love, which was Coupling, and that was so well and so cleverly written. Yeah. The last series weren't so good because I think he was finally getting done with it, and the funniest character had left. But that was so well written, and then the stories that he wrote during Russell T Davies's tenure, they were really well written as well. Yeah.
The Empty Child.
And like you say, I think when he took over from Russell T Davies, that's when the interference really started to get worse. Like you say, if they said you're having Matt Smith, and the episodes with the angels in were nowhere near as scary as Blink was. Nowhere near. Even I had 2 kids.
Yeah, he created them. He created the Weeping Angels.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I think you've hit the nail on the head. I really do.
I don't. Yeah, I definitely don't. I can't put it on as being any one person. I think that the problem that we've got right now is that it's a show by committee, and unfortunately, I think that the people making the show aren't given enough freedom and creative freedom to deliver a show that is as good as what we just watched. And I the end of the world, for all its flaws, and all its, and the kookiness and campness to it, I mean, I'd still give it a 7 out of 10. It's a very enjoyable episode. It's not.
It's a romp, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah, it's just a again, it's a tongue-in-cheek bit of fun, and what we lack in right now is that is not, you don't get it. Everything is dealt with such severity and a seriousness that there's just, I don't know.
See, the other thing about this episode, it's also a very clever setup episode. You take all the cheesiness away. They've set up, was it Space Station 1, whatever it's called. They've set up the last of the Time Lords. They're starting to feed the interwoven.
Yeah, but you get more and more character development as well.
Yeah. So
I mean, again, we had a little bit more with Rose, with what was happening with her and her mother, and the family scenario there, and she's got no job anymore and all this stuff. So she's developing, and she's being a bit more. There's a bit where she's kind of like contemplating what she's just done, and you get that in that scene whereby she's talking to the plumber, where she's like, "Oh, I've run away with this guy. I don't really know who he is," and you get that in that scene, and she's questioning herself. Can you think of a character that's questioned themselves? I mean, maybe Graham, but I don't.
I don't know. I think Graham's biggest question is, why am I talking to this sodding frog?
But I mean, but Graham just pointed out, he just points out audience stuff. He's just Graham is kind of like the voice of the audience.
Yeah.
But I can't think of Yaz being in conflict or Ryan. They kind of just get dragged around, and I don't know. There's so many. I don't like to talk about Modern Who as much as we have tonight now, because we should be talking about what we just saw with the end of the world there and the Rusty Davis era. Let's end this on a happier note, shall we?
Yeah, let's do that.
Because we've got Unquiet Dead next week, and the rest of Christopher Eccleston's run. Where we go from there, that's anyone's game. But for right now, Unquiet Dead is going to be next week. End of the world now. The visual effects, they could use a remaster. Not necessary though. They don't. They do quite well considering it's 15 years. And let's be honest here, they didn't pay for those effects, right? They paid a person to do a job, but they didn't pay for all those effects. They paid that person to work for a week, right? So you're talking, I think it was about $6,000 overall. That was.
The thing is, I mean, they have aged a little bit,
Yeah.
but in the same breath, it's not bubble wrap painted green.
No, it's not.
So I mean, me personally, I'd leave them as they were, as a document at the time when they was made.
Yeah, and the other thing I would say as well is that I know I made mention of this earlier. The fact that the second episode goes straight in and gives you such a variety of aliens, was really nice, because we haven't had that. I think the last time we had something like that was probably Rings of Akaten. I think that's what we pronounce it. Rings of Akaten. Yeah. I think that's when the last time, when all the aliens gathering for that sing along with the god. I think that's probably the last time we had that. But again, it's one of the problems with Doctor Who, whereby it doesn't draw very well on its own history. And it could do. You could have you could land on a planet and have the robots of death just walking around in the background. just there. You know, you could do it, and you could make it much more inclusive. You could make it much more part of its own history. And it's not because people like talk about fan service, and you could do this whereby you can have all these past creatures that you've already had without having to be villains. You could have these things just flesh out the universe.
Yeah.
They've already got the costumes. They're in bloody storage. You know, there's no need to keep recreating or creating new all the time. Like you could have a TARDIS land on a planet with a marketplace, and one of the people in the marketplace could be Sontaran.
Yeah, I mean, like when I know they created the Mox of Balhoun there. Why couldn't that have been enough? It would have been exactly the same setup, just different makeup. A member of Sil's race. Yep,
exactly. It's just there's so many, but they just have to populate the space. You don't have to have them be. Oh, look, there's this, and oh, look, there's that. You just have it in the background there, just space for it. You know, if you could have extras, why make them all human? Why not just draw upon the Doctor Who's history? You know, you could have like there's so many things that you could do. Like, and there's so many things. If I was in charge of Doctor Who, there's so many things I would do that they just aren't doing now. And
they wouldn't let you do it, would they? So,
well, I mean, that's the thing. But anyway, as things go, I enjoyed that episode.
Good episode. It was, I haven't watched a Chris Eccleston episode since we did Rose, and that's probably pretty much bang on a year ago, I suppose we did that, didn't we?
Well, we're going to do another one in 7 days' time.
Excellent.
And the one we're going to do next week is my favourite Christopher Eccleston episode. It
is a good one. I think we'll be doing my favourite Christopher Eccleston episode in 1, 2, 3, about 4 weeks' time.
That would be Father's Day?
No. 2 before that. I'll give you a cryptic clue. Is that a Dutch name?
I don't know. Empty Child? Dr. Dances?
The Doctor squeaks.
Yeah.
The name I was going for, the Dutch name, possible, Van Staten.
Oh yeah. Dalek. Again.
That's probably my favourite one this episode.
I would definitely bring back.
Because they were had a bit more free reign, as we were just discussing.
Yep.
That Dalek goes completely mental on this deck, doesn't it? And it's proper like blasting the shit out of people.
They done a really good job of making the Daleks menacing.
Yeah.
A proper job of making the Dalek menacing. So the fact that, and that's something that's been watered down as well. So this is a real good jumping on point for Doctor Who. Next week, Unquiet Dead, and I'm really looking forward to it. So, and we're going to finish that there. I think we're coming up to nearly 3.5 hours. We've covered 2 episodes of Doctor Who, Scream the Shalka, which is a lot better than I remember. A lot better, and far more enjoyable. Yeah. And I wish we could have more Doctor Who like that. So, anyway, I'm going to leave that there. Next week, I'm Quite Dead. And then we carry on the Christopher Eccleston run right way up to Partner of the Ways. We'll see what we do at the end of Partner of the Ways, where we go from there. But I think it's probably the best thing to do now is to complete the run. We won't be taking as long as we have tonight because we've done 2 episodes.
Well, we might. You never know.
Yeah.
I've got at least 5 weeks more off work, mate.
Here's the thing. StreamYard have sent me an email saying, "Wow, you were streaming a lot." So I don't think we'll be going as long. But it'll be a lot of fun either way. So that's done for this week. Take care.
See you later.